All right, welcome everybody to Gravity Rush, where we're going to see which racers have throttle over fear. We're here with some amazing guests, hosts, analysts, casters. I'm excited to have you guys on. We got Tint and the legendary Cyberfox. How are you guys feeling today?
Yeah, I'm great. It's just amazing to be here at ATMO's inaugural racing event. I said it here just during the live Enter Atmosphere 2954 event. This is the dawn of an era of esports, and we're going to get to see some of the best pilots in the verse today.
Awesome. Hey, man, love to have you here, Cyberfox. I know you did some casting with us at Enter Atmosphere, so pleasure to have you back. And then, of course, Tint, who was actually racing in Enter Atmosphere, and he's going to be kicking off this inaugural season of Gravity Rush as our analyst. How you feeling today, Tint?
I'm feeling pretty good, and it's definitely looking at the field that we've got racing today. I'm a little bit glad that I'm not in it. Some of these guys are absolute legends, and it's going to be beautiful to watch them show what they can do.
Awesome. I mean, we kind of teased this at Enter Atmosphere, and I'm going to go through a little bit of about why ATMO Esports decided to get into ship racing, and one of the big reasons is because we saw the same dynamic with fight or flight, knowing that these two ship racing and dogfighting can actually live in the same state as an esports LAN event in person. So it just made so much sense, to kind of bring those two together for one night at Enter Atmosphere, and it worked so well that we definitely wanted to get this kicked off, and it just made so much sense with all the synergies. But I mean, we're gonna go back really quickly, but Tint, as someone who was participating in racing at Enter Atmosphere, can you just explain to me how was that experience for you?
I mean, it was absolutely unreal. You take all of the normal sort of stress and adrenaline that comes from racing in StarCitizen, and then you add the live environment, the hype, the hearing, the cheering. I mean, you guys were kind enough to give us some sort of dampening on that in the headsets there, and even then, it was coming through. People were really loving it, so it's definitely a once in a lifetime experience that I think anybody who gets the chance should absolutely jump on.
Hey, well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I hope we see more of you in the future on those type of events, Atlanta events. So, but Cyberfox, throwing it over to you, man. Like your experience as a caster, how do you feel about the environment, the races? Tell us a little bit about your experience. Back during ship racing at Enter Atmosphere 2954.
Yeah, I mean, I got to repeat what Tint says. Really, the atmosphere there is completely different, and the racers tonight must be feeling much more comfortable because they haven't got all of that extra pressure. Right? They're at home. They're with their own kit. They're with their own computers. I remember during the setup of the event, they had to essentially calibrate new sticks, calibrate pedals. They had to anchor their seats down. So we got none of that this time. So we should really see nothing getting in the way of the best racing that they can achieve. And my hope for today is we'll see some drama, some excitement, and maybe see some crashes, some DNFs, and help grow the racing community by showcasing what racing is all about.
Yeah, so this time around, I'll talk about it. We're going to go into all the groups. We're going to go into all the racers that are going to be racing today. We're going to be breaking down all of Gravity Rush before we get into race number one. So that way you, the viewer at home, can kind of understand how we're going to be racing throughout this season. And again, this is an inaugural season. So, things had to change on the fly depending on how much racers we have. But I think we had somewhere around 27 signups or so. But we had some people kind of last minute back out, schedule changes, all that good stuff, which is totally fine. But I believe we have some of the most incredible competitive racers. I think we have a total of 17 racers who are going to be racing across 4 different groups, which I'm super excited about. I'm going to call them out really quickly. We got Dude 3D, Neojet, we got Ninjetti, Ricky Tiki, Liquid Prime, Nickel, JG24, Samtastic, Shaqnu, Canadian Maverick. We got Herbie, who's a legendary ground racer. We got Ordito, Shepko. We got White Rice, Henchman Zero, Jelly Mead, Slum KH4, and then we got Splen. So this is a pretty stacked list. I'm going to throw it over to you first here, Cyberfox. Anybody on this list just gets you absolutely excited to see racing today?
I mean, I've been prepared for this question because I've been interviewing the racers before the show and asked them, what your pre-race which rituals are, what are your warm-ups like, and I had a look at their time trial runs. And Audito's prep is practicing until the very last moment. And just to say that not only did he make it fifth on the time trial, which we could talk about later, but he has set a new record for icebreaker, and he's set a new record for the snake pit for this event. So yeah, my eyes are always going to be peeled on Audito because he's been putting in that effort, putting in the practice. 15 days ago, 12 days ago, I think he posted his last times, just quickly looking at scr.gg. And yeah, on that time trial run, he's just such a good competitor. And he was relatively new to the racing community just about a year ago, just over a year ago. And he's really rocketed up the leaderboards.
Wow. Well, love to hear that. Same question to you, Tint. Anybody on this list that absolutely gets you excited to see racing in today's event, Gravity Rush?
I think it's going to be interesting to see the sort of old blood versus new blood. We got Splen, of course, absolute legend. I mean, I learned most of what I know about racing from watching his streams, and Shaqnu, who was a XGR's racing instructor for a long time and was teaching a lot of the newer racers that we're going to be talking about today. But Liquid and Ordito are both also going to be bringing some real heat, and so it's going to be interesting to see how everybody stacks up. Honestly, my pick though for the sleeper for this one is Dude 3D. He's always been really consistent, and he's always brought a real stability to the racing. So I think we're going to see a lot of these front runners crash out, and Dude just sneak away with points.
Oh, I absolutely love that answer. Love to hear it. And, well, let's jump right into it, guys, okay? In order to get into Gravity Rush, we had all these racers sign up, and then they had to put a time trial on scr.gg. Shout outs to Diplomat and, and him putting all that together. But, I mean, we saw some, during this event, people had the chance to choose from 6 different ships. We have the Mirai Razor, we have the Mirai Fury LX, we had the Origin M50, the Origin 350R, we got the Gamma, of course, which I don't think we saw one out there, but it's okay. We got the P72, and then we had the Peregrine. So, we'll kick it off with you first. We saw a lot of the same 3 ships that a lot of people were qualifying in. Do you think any of those 3 ships that a lot of the racers were using, do they have an advantage here compared to the other ones that weren't used?
Well, so it's sort of an interesting sort of decision that they have to make, because we have at one end of the M50, I think is something we should expect to be dominant, but
Yep.
it's also incredibly twitchy and it's incredibly difficult to fly. Currently, the fastest way to turn it is actually to pitch down, which means you're turning blind. It means you're redding out. And so I think a lot of our racers have decided that because the P72 is really just as competitive in atmospheric racing, that they'll take the consistency and the stability that it provides over the M50's twitchiness.
Gotcha. Makes total sense. Same question to you, Cyberfox. Any of these 3 ships, which is the M50, the 72 Archimedes, and then we saw the Razor. Any of these 3 ships stand out to you, or any of them that has a huge difference that you think are going to make a difference in these races today?
Yeah, I think especially with the tighter courses, those who have selected the P72 Archimedes, they've got to watch out because you can't fly close to terrain, you can't fly close to checkpoints, you can't fly close to each other. Because if you take a hit, if you take a little bit of damage, if you knock just a little bit, then you're going to be out, you're going to DNF. So the fact of the matter is with the Razor and with the M50, you can take a bit of a knock, you can sort of go on course a little bit, you can correct, you can come back, you can recover. They got a larger sort of boost reserve as well, but the Archimedes is lighter, it's more fragile, it's a little bit more deadly of a choice. So yeah, I'd say if you wanted to go for stability, my choice would have been the Razor versus the M50. So we'll see how that pans out.
All right. Well, let's jump right into our group talk here. We're going to talk about Group 1, kicking it off here. So the entire tournament is going to be consisted of 4 different groups. I believe one group is going to have 5 racers. One group is going to have 4 racers. So, but with group number 1, we're going to kick it off. We're going to be racing. We're going to go over the tracks here in a little bit, but we're going to kick it off. Each group is going to race on Lorville Outskirts, the Icebreaker, and then the Snake Pit for today's group 1 stage, as I would say, or group 1 rush, because it's Gravity Rush. But we have a Dude 3D, we got Neojet, We have, well, let me start over. Dude 3D is going to be on the Mirai Razor. We got NeoJet, who's going to be in the P72 Archimedes. We got Ninjetti in the Mirai Razor, and then Ricky Tiki in the Mirai Razor as well. Let's talk a little bit about Group 1. We got these 4 racers. I'm going to kick it right back to you, CyberFox. Any of these 4 that you feel are going to stand out, or maybe even, put some points on the board for their first race?
Yeah, again, repeating what Tint said, I saw Dude 3D perform during the Black Star Underground race event last year, and he was just so consistent, just pulls it out of the bag time and time again. He sort of, if he gets a little setback, he'll just keep pushing. He's got that consistency that all great racers have. So yeah, I think there's a lot of failures that racers can face, but he just keeps pulling back every single time. I think NeoJet's quite a fast racer as well. He's put some really quick times on the time trial boards, and Ninjetti, I think. Like I said, when I was interviewing them, he's got a few distractions. So I said, what pre-race rituals do you have? And Ninjetti's answer to that was, tell my girlfriend not to disturb me during a competition. So you never know what might be going on in the background, because they're at home, right? They're not on stage anymore. So there's other things going on in the house. So yeah, it'll be funny to see if there's any unexpected disruptions.
Got it. Well, hopefully he doesn't get distracted. Same question your way. Round 1, are we gonna see any? Are we gonna see some tight racing? Are we gonna see somebody stand out from the pack? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, I think this is actually on the numbers, at least on the qualifying numbers. This is the tightest and most packed skill group of the day. You've got Dude, Neo, and Ninjetti all within a second of each other on their qualifying times. So I think it really is anybody's race. Obviously, as I've already said, I think Dude is going to be, my guess to win. Neo's flying style in the P72 may pay off for him, though. He's always been a little bit more of a full send, risk taking kind of racer, and so I think with the P72 that might kind of balance out for him a little bit, where the ship itself is going to kind of keep him from going too far. But the boost patterning on the snubs can also get you in trouble, where sometimes you'll run out of boost at a critical moment and you'll be too slow and you'll get overtaken, and then you've got the danger of re-overtaking your opponents when you've got your boost back. So it's going to be tight.
Yep. Just seeing that, but seeing the excitement of NeoJet when he was actually racing, when he saw the stage for the first time at Enter Atmosphere, man, he was like a kid in a candy store. So I know both of you talking about Dude 3D, but NeoJet spirit always just gets me very hyped to see him compete. Because I know I can tell like the vibe of him getting excited anytime he wins or he's doing well all the way from here, no matter where he's at in the world, which I think is pretty cool. So, all right, well, let's jump over to Group 2 here. Group 2, we're gonna have Liquid Prime on the Origin M50. We have Shaknu on the P72 Archimedes. We got Nickel Jag. I don't know how to say it. Sorry if I butchered it, guys. I apologize. On the Mirai Razor, and then we got Samtastic 7 on the Mirai Razor. So for Group 2, of course, they're going to be going through the same amount of races and tracks today as Group 1. So they're going to be doing Lorville Outskirts, Icebreaker, and Snake Pit. Tint, we'll start with you this time, though. Anyone in this Group 2 that has you excited to watch them race today?
I think the real battle is going to come to Shaknu versus Liquid, and I think my money may actually be on Liquid. Okay. Having watched through the time trials, Liquid is just so up on the flight model. He's been obviously grinding it out. And he's taken the potentially riskier choice of the M50, but I do expect it to pay off for him. I think the other one that I'm really curious to watch for is Samtastic. He's a new name to me, but racing on Legacy and training with Splen, who knows what he might be able to pull out.
All right. Well, that's interesting. I love seeing the new racers. There's a lot on the line too, pricing wise. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as soon as we get into the races. But Cyberfox, right back over to you. Group 2. Who's your standout? Who's your standout here?
Yeah, so Liquid for me is a PvPer at heart as well, right? So he's always goes by the saying like if you can dodge a racer, you can dodge a laser, and he thinks that more PvPers should
Okay.
join the racing community and learn what it really means to be a pilot. So he's taking a risk, but I think he's used to those high risk situations.
Yep.
Shaknu as well. Shaknu famously used to battle Splen back in the day, so it's always on the leaderboards and in the races. It's always Shaknu versus Splen, Shaknu versus Splen. So it depends what style of Shaknu we get. He's also into PvP and dogfighting, but the difference in ships, the difference in approach today might prove to be a bit of a challenge for him. We'll see.
Okay. All right. I mean, I totally agree with you that PvPers should try ship racing. I know we saw Avenger 1 try it a few times on stream. I do think, before we had master modes, it did cross over very, very well when we had that 6th off. So hopefully some of that comes back, man, because I do miss those 6 degree of freedoms. They made everything so much more interesting. So, but let's see what CIG does in the future. So let's jump over right to Group 3. We got Canadian Maverick. This is a group of 5. Canadian Maverick on the Origin M50. We got Herbie on the Mirai Razor. Love seeing ground racers even come up to ship racing and take a chance. We got Ordito in the P72 Archimedes, Shipco in the P72 Archimedes, and then White Rice right back over to you, CyberFox. Group 3. How are you feeling about this one? We have 5, not 4 on this one, but who's your standout racer on this group?
Yeah, I mean, I already mentioned Audito being top of the leaderboards and putting in those times, practicing into the last moment. And I'm not sure really. I know that Herbie's a consistent racer as well. He's been Daymar Rally winner and won, what was it, S7 with his team as well. So he's a veteran racer. So I'm not going to rule out just the mentality that it goes into being a racer, right? Everybody needs to have that frame set, that mindset in order to succeed. And Audito he challenges the top racers, and he's been putting the time in for time trials, but time trials are different to live racing, right? It's a different skill set. Whereas Herbie's got a bit more of that experience for the actual competition. So we'll see.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that Herbie has also like another one of those people that just bring that racing spirit no matter what they're racing in StarCitizen, and I love seeing that he's partaking in ship racing today and just going for it regardless of the results. So shout out to Herbie for that. So Tint, group 3 here. Who do you think is going to do very, very well in this group of 5?
I think it's Ordito's race to lose. I really do. Just having raced with, him, Maverick, and Herbie before. I think if Ordito can get out in front, there's not going to be any stopping him.
Yeah.
Now, that said, Herbie absolutely has taken everything he learned ground racing about how to grind, how to learn the track, how to handle surprises on the track. And he's been doing extremely well in the ship racing events that he's been entering so far. Canadian Maverick is also kind of an interesting one because, of course, he's legendary for his faithfulness to the 350, and he's not in it today. And his M50 time trial for his qualifier was a little slow relative to the other M50s on the board, but he's also had 2 weeks in it to grind it out and see if he can bring that up to the level of performance that he's usually seeing in the 350. So I think either one of them could easily take second, and if Ordito crashes out, then it's first for them.
Let's talk about that really quickly before we jump into our last group, Tint, because you made a very good point. We are going into Arena Commander, right, for this tournament, but if somebody crashes, that's going to be it for them in their race, right? We're taking this to the point where it's like F1. If you crash out, you won't be able to continue that race. You're not going to be able to have one respawn or whatever it is. They're going to be, pretty much out of that race. They do get points if they do progress past the first lap, which is I think it's great. That means, if they want to take it safe during that first lap and then punch it after, there's going to be different strategies. But I think that it's going to allow these racers to maybe double think about the risk about they're going to take during a turn, because that, is going to make them, if they crash out because they know that, hey, I have a respawn, I'm going to try to push it here, right, on this corner, and then whatever happens. But now that they don't have that, they're going to have to double think about, hey, am I going to go into this turn risky, or I'm going to take it safe? But what are your thoughts on no respawns in Arena Commander? And Tin, I'm going to give it right back to you.
I think it's rough, and I think we'll see a couple of heartbreaks throughout the course of the day. But it absolutely does push these racers to run safe lines, but also be flexible in their lines. And if they have practiced in a variety of situations, if they've practiced in groups, that's really going to shine through in terms of their ability to deal with surprises and debris on the track, even if somebody in front of them does crash out.
Gotcha. Same question to you, CyberFox. How are you feeling that there? It's one crash during Arena Command the races, and you're out. How do you feel about that? And how do you think the racers are gonna? Are they gonna be still the same risk, or they're gonna double think about their choices going into this race?
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't think it's possible to stick to the optimal racing line. So all of the practice that they've been running in time trials is almost for moot, for nothing.
Yep.
I know what they do is they fly until they know the track like the back of their hand. There's nothing to say, that knowledge isn't going to come in handy. But the tracks are so tight and the racing is so precise that coming into a corner and merging with the best line will result in a ship-to-ship crash. And we might see a bit of that, but I think that makes the races more exciting, right? I think that gives it a bit of drama, it gives it a bit of risk, and it means that people really have to think and be aware of their surroundings. And not only that, I think it makes a difference what kind of system that they're using, what sort of inputs, what sort of assistance they've got. So people who've got eye trackers, people who've got head trackers might be able to look around as they're going around corners, might be able to be a bit more aware of their surroundings. Whereas those who are just flying just straight up, no assistance, no sort of additional head movements, I think they're going to be a bit trickier to avoid those collisions.
I totally agree with you there, and we've talked about this before about especially Tobii Eye Tracker. They have a sponsor of the stream, by the way, but honestly, they have a great feature called Camera Boost that allows you to look ahead, way before you even make a maneuver, which I think is going to, we've seen it at Enter Atmosphere where a lot of racers actually use this, so it's definitely going to come in quite handy, like you mentioned. All right, quickly going into the last group here. We have Henchman Zero in the Mirai Razor, Jellyhead Made in the P72 Archimedes, Slum KH4 in the Mirai Razor, and then Splen in the Origin M50. I love seeing all the same, different three ships for Group 3. Now here in Group 5, I think Group 4 got mixed in with Group 3, so it's only going to be 4 groups today. But really quickly, as soon as we get into the tracks here, Cyberfox, throwing it right back to you. Anybody in this Group 5 that stands out for you?
I mean, we've all got to bow down to the great Splen, of course. Everybody knows the legendary Splen. Looking at the time trials and the leaderboards for these current races as well, I've got to give a shout out to Jellyhead Made. So I mentioned Audito's the top of the leaderboards recently, but Jellyhead Made has also been posting times as early as 13 days ago. And he's now, I think, second on the Snake Pit, third on Icebreaker, and second on Lawville Outskirts for the racetracks tonight. So I think Jellyhead Made and Spled going head to head is going to be a real sight to see.
Awesome. Same question. You think Group 5? Who you think here is gonna shine in these races here during Gravity Rush?
I think it. Fox has nailed it. It's going to be Splen v Jelly, and Splen, of course, having been out for an extended period of time, coming back into racing in the M50. We saw his time trial was absolutely amazing to watch, just riding the edge of red out and blackout the entire time. And so I think, honestly, this is another case where this is his race to lose, where if he's able to get out in front, if he's able to race those time trial lines uncontested, there will be no one in this field who can catch him. Now, that said, Jelly is one of the guys who's just always on the grind in Arena Commander. Like if I pop into Arena Commander just to do some random racing and there's another racer in the lobby, it's going to be Jelly. Like the man lives there. So I expect that experience to play through in terms of his flexibility. And I think he's played into that well by picking the P72 for today. I actually asked him about it, and he's basically he said, I'm not a 0G racer. I'm an atmospheric racer. So I'm going to push as hard as I can in the P72. And I'm going to make sure that I get across the finish line.
All right. Well, those are our groups for today that are going to be competing in stage or rush number 1 of Gravity Rush here. I believe we're about ready to go. So Tint, we'll see you back here on the desk to break down the action of these next 3 races. So we'll be back soon. And then myself and Cyberfox are going to be breaking down the action for you coming up here in Lorville Outskirts. All right, we got Lorville Outskirts here. Cyberfox, tell me what is one of your favorite parts of this specific course, because I'm telling you, this is going to be a fun one to watch.
This is seriously one of my favorite tracks. It's one of the only tracks that I've put a time trial down for myself as well. It's really close to the ground, really low level. You can really feel the speed, and you got to get through those mail slots. You got to get through the gates that are really narrow and really tight. There's some really quick, fast-paced turns as well. A lot of like 180 flips. So yeah, I just like it. It's a very tight, short circuit track.
All right. Well, I am looking forward to it. So, I mean, this one has, I believe, 5 checkpoints. You know, with the first one where we're going to call homeward bound, we have, you know, number 2 where it's definitely going to be a brake check, because as soon as they go through that first hairpin, they're going to have to, you know, kind of slow down a little bit. If not, they're going to meet a couple rocks there, or a little mountain, as we call it, for them to, you know, hit themselves on. And then we got checkpoint number 3, which is going to be skyward, and then number 4 is what we call under pressure, where they have to go under that gate through that 4 checkpoint. And then, of course, we got the drop towards, you know, I believe another, after the straight, another big turn there before they get back to that finish line. So this course to me is, what are your thoughts on the difficulty of this turn? But here we go, Cyberfox, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, we've already got a very quick start from Neojet. He's taken the lead, followed very closely by, Ricky Tiki's off. Ninjetti's following really closely as well. I've lost where they are. I think Neojet is coming around homeward bound brake check. He's coming down underneath those gates, pulling it really tight, really low going, making sure he doesn't hit the pipes, nearly blacking out there.
All right, seeing Ninjetti. I think Ninjetti's taking it a little bit slow, but Neojet is pretty much sending a very good boost there on that turn. You know, holding off on the boost here, as I can see the afterburners not being used. He's going to go through this straight. Next checkpoint here, going to go into the next hairpin, and we're on Ninjetti right now. But this is looking like they're taking it slow right now, Cyberfox. It looks like they're just trying to get a feel for it and trying to hopefully get past lap 1 to maybe punch it into lap 2. What are your thoughts here?
I think it feels slow, but looking at the way that they're racing, they're really using that boost and that economy that they got with their ship boost meter and their boost filling. I can't think of the goddamn word. Sorry about that. They're coming up to lap 2. They've got to be really careful though, because again, the difference in the ships means that Neojet can't hold his boost for as long as Ninjetti can. And it looks like Neojet's still holding the lead there, coming back down to another hairpin and coming under the pipes, while Ninjetti is coming through the caves and just a few corners behind him.
Yeah, it's looking like Neojet is holding strong. As you can see in Ninjetti's cam, Neojet is not even visible there. They're using up all of their afterburners right now. You can see that at the you know, on that middle right side of their screen on that HUD, where, you know, Neojet is doing a great job at holding on, staying in the green, you know, throttling the afterburner very, very well, and having, like you said, using that management good. While, you know, I think right now Ninjetti is trying to punch it as much as they can to hopefully be able to catch up. But we're seeing some very good tight turns, you know, using that pitch. You know, I learned that from Jacketin in one of his videos that he talked about, using that pitch very well and turning through these corners flawlessly, from my opinion. These are some great racers today, Cyberfox.
Yeah, Neojet's about 3 or 4 checkpoints ahead of... Neojet's about 3 or 4 checkpoints ahead, coming down the drop and coming through to under pressure. Now, what Neojet is doing, I've noticed, is he's using all of the checkpoint space. He's giving himself some breathing room. You can still see, though, he's pushing it. He's nearly blacking out, whereas Ninjetti is using a little less space. He's going around the corners a little tighter. He's coming through the checkpoints so that he's really close to those gates, whereas Neojet's just got a bit more breathing room. I think he's taking easy. I think he knows that he's in the lead. He's using that leadership economy. He's just taking it as safely, not taking any risks as he can, pulling through this mail slot and coming down to under pressure for the drop.
There we go. That's absolutely beautiful. Neojet showing us how it's done. But I totally agree with you, CyberFox. He is definitely taking it a little bit safer, knowing that, oh no, a
Oh no!
crash here. And there he
Oh,
goes, and that's going to be it. And Ninjetti's going to be able to come in and take over. And all Ninjetti has to do is just finish past where NeoJet was now that he's already in lap number 2. And that should be able to get Ninjetti max points into the position here in Lorville outskirts here, CyberFox.
this is what we were just talking about. NeoJet was taking it safe right up until the end there. I don't know what happened. Maybe he caught one of those chains that hang down. They're famous for desyncing a little bit. I don't know what he caught himself on. He didn't explode. I don't think he's lost a wing or anything. He's looking around. His ship seems okay. So it was just really unfortunate that he just took a little bit of a risk on one of the final corners, I think, literally on the last corner.
Yeah, that was a tough one, and man, any little turn, it just knocks him out for that. NeoJet though, he still has 2 races to kind of make that back up, and he still gets some points as well. Don't get that wrong. I believe he was finalizing on that last lap, but man, that is such a tough call there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an upset to see somebody DNF right off the bat, but this is the way it is. This is the way the league is set up, and actually, I think it makes the racers think about what they're doing. It makes the racers think about their lines. It makes them think about how carefully they want to fly. It brings some excitement to each of the tracks.
Yep. It seems like we didn't have the other 2 racers. I'm not sure what happened with Ricky Tiki and Dude 3D, but we'll find that out later on in the broadcast. But so far, I think that was a great race. I think NeoJet, man, he was literally right there towards the end, but luckily for Ricky Tiki, like any little, that last turn just kind of clipped him, man. And oh man, but let's see what happens here. I believe they're going to be setting up here for the next race, which is going to be the Icebreaker, which is coming up here.
Yeah, Icebreaker is one of my favorite tracks. It's based around the edge of an ice lake with a cliff edge that drops down to water level, with the idea being that the ships are flying as low and as close to the mountains and to the floor as possible. It's quite thick atmosphere, and it's got quite a lot of elevation changes as well. So I think it's one of those races that you fight against the thickness of the air from time to time, but it's a great beginner race. It's got lots of space, lots of breathing room, and it pressures racers to use the boost for the long straight as well. So there's a lot of boost management that has to happen in the Icebreaker. It's a fun all-rounder.
Yeah, so I mean, what are your thoughts about, is there a difference here, CyberFox, where they have to use boost in the long straights, or is it more beneficial to use boost to fight those Gs when they're in a turn? Or is it just situational depending on the track?
Yeah, I mean, this is how racers learn to optimize, right? They practice and practice and practice, and then they go look at each other's recordings to find out where each other's using the boost. When it comes to time trials, like on the old Vanderval, it was boost from start to finish. The entire 1 lap was using the boost, but they can't do this for this event, for this tournament, because there's multiple laps, and they got to make sure that it lasts all the way through. So in answer to your question, it really depends. I mean, you've got to have some in reserve, because you've got to be able to recover. So it doesn't matter if your primary strategy is to use it through the corner or through the long straight. You've just got to make sure that you just keep an eye on it. It's another element of racing that makes it a little more complicated.
No, totally get it. Totally understand. I appreciate you breaking that down for everybody on stream. So, but yeah, jumping into Icebreaker right now. And, I see some of these long straights that you're talking about, but I mean, there are going to be some difficulties probably after you hit into that, second and third checkpoint, the climb. We got, that crossover that goes right over that ledge or that hill, I would say, where they have to take a sharp, right turn and then a left turn. So this one is definitely going to be interesting. But let's see if NeoJet is going to be able to come back from, that last mistake there that kind of cost them, this first initial race for group number 1.
Yeah, that right and left-hander, the crossover into Matterhorn that you're talking about, it's kind of like Laguna Seca. You got to dive, and you got like negative Gs, and then you got positive Gs, and you got to force your ship around those corners from right to left, and then stay as tight and close to Matterhorn as possible. So yeah, it's quite an exciting track. It's actually a figure of 8 as well. So when you've got a huge pack, when you've got a lot more racers on the pack, you tend to run into the back markers at the crossover, which is hence its name.
Yep.
So it's yeah, a classic sort of almost like a Scale X trick, but in the StarCitizen universe.
Yeah, that I mean, good call on that crossover. I think that's gonna be exciting, but obviously, I think with 3 racers, everybody should be like a few checkpoints behind each other, so we won't see too much of that crossover, being hit too much, but we should be fine. But I believe we're getting ready to go here, and I'm seeing, no, never mind. That's not. I was like, why is Ricky Tiki in a Fury? But I think that's one of our camera crew. But I think this race is about to be ready to go here in a few minutes. But yeah, let's see. I feel like in this point, I'm seeing Neojet hold on to a pretty good lead there. But let's see if Ninjetti and Ricky Tiki can keep up, because I think if Neojet can continue to hold and just not clip at that last minute, we should be fine. We should be able to see a good race here. And
I think
by the way,
this head-to-head will be. Oh, you carry on.
No, I was gonna say we did get some very very good information here. I believe we had Neojet with a best lap of 1 minute and 6 seconds back in Lorville outskirts.
Ah, that's amazing. Yeah, and on the icebreaker for the current time trials, I'm just having a look. Neojet and Ninjetti, what their times were posted. So Neojet's posted a 52-second lap, which is really quick actually, sub 1 minute. I can't find the other one on the leaderboard at the moment, but very interesting because Audito, who's in one of the other groups, he's got a 50-second lap time. So it really depends on how you're feeling, how you perform on the day. There can be quite a huge spread of times on a track this long and this wide.
Yeah. I think they're fixing it right now for the best lap. So we're seeing, so Ninjetti best lap of 110 during the race, and then Ricky Tiki is going to be at a lap of 132. So a little few seconds in between Neojet and Ninjetti, but Ricky Tiki seems to take a lower pace, but still got him second place because of that one mistake.
Yeah, and it also depends again on their setup, because Splen famously called this the eyes breaker. Because if you got a really bright monitor, if you got one of those curved monitors that goes around all to your side, it's quite bright. It's a real challenge to fly on such a whiteout, such an icy map.
Oh, I can actually believe that. So I think racers are about getting ready to go here, setting up. And by the way, they are cycling their landing gear in order to make sure they don't, I believe there's a bug around some of the speeds. So they have to cycle that to make sure that everything is normal and nobody has an advantage here. So once I believe they're cycled their landing gear, we should be able to get started here very, very shortly.
This whole track was created by Steve CC, who found this cliff at the edge of the lake that I was talking about that goes down to water level, and the intention was for the track to be tight and fly towards the ice, and it really low to the ground, really tight to the mountains, as I said. And CIG have adopted some of these tracks that were created by the community, and this is one of them. And this is one of the easiest, most sort of beginner-friendly tracks because of the amount of space that it has as well. So if you're looking to get into racing, if you want to try out your pledge ship on a track, this would be the one that I'd recommend. It's got a lot of character, but it's also quite forgiving. And it looks like we've got our race countdown timer starting 30 seconds from now. But yeah, it's great to race in the PU. You got to contend with storms though, and you got to contend with low sun and weather. And historically, people didn't practice it because of the whiteouts. So it's good to have it in Arena Commander now.
Yeah, I mean, not gonna lie to you, this track is visually pleasing. But here we go, starting in 3, 2, 1, and racers should be on their way right now. I can already see pitch, and here we go. We begin another strong start here Oh man, look at Ninjetti taking that corner a little bit sharp here, and then Neojet took it a little bit wider, so that was a pretty safe bet there for him. And here we go. I love how they're starting with that right pitch, so they'll be able to get those first turns and the second checkpoint turn in a good state of manner here, using that
Yeah,
boost
we
here
got
as soon as this
Neojet
straight is coming
inverting.
up.
Yeah, Neojet was inverting, just that's that like Laguna Seca style corner I was talking about, coming around past the speed trap now, I believe. Oh, Neojet is pulling right into those checkpoints. Did you see how close he's pulling that? Taking it
Wow,
easy.
here we go.
Flipping and rolling around to the start-finish line, and Neojet finishing. I can't see the time. It's coming in just under 1 minute by the looks of it. Neojet again inverting really close to the ground, pulling in every single centimeter that he can out of those checkpoints, coming round tight to the corner, round Matterhorn again, getting ready to roll and invert, pulling down through the corner of that checkpoint, pulling up tight. Oh my god. Sorry, I get really excited because of all the different turns that you have in this race. He's all over the place, but he's keeping it really well centered. You can see that he's got his TVI, his target velocity indicator, which is that tiny little moving indicator that's on his screen, like hovering around. He's keeping that under control. So every time he rolls and pitches up, he brings that under control. He's way ahead in the lead, using that leadership economy, pulling back down to the start-finish line and getting ready for turn 1 again. 59 seconds. Really consistent racing from Neojet.
Oh man, look at that turn going on that hill. And he's doing a great job, like you mentioned, getting that leadership economy. I'm going to use that word because everybody's using it as well. So, but he is racing the icebreaker to perfection. Look at those turns. I feel like he's showing off at this point, CyberFox. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think he's just racing himself at the moment. Ninjetti's taking it easy. I'd like to see them both finish this race. But again, Neojet's just using every centimeter of the checkpoint. Ninjetti's also doing the same, inverting, rolling around to the left, coming in. Oh, a little bit of loss of control there, coming in tight. And then there's that Laguna Seca drop, vertical G's coming in, and then back round towards Matterhorn, very tight to that checkpoint.
Oh
yeah,
man, love
some really
seeing
fantastic
these turns.
racing.
No, this has been absolutely great so far. I love seeing how tight they're getting in these turns, but I think Neojet did it here, already finishing that third lap there, and I believe we can't really see the position as Jetty's in if Ricky Tiki was in front or behind, but it looks like Neojet is going to take that first place spot. This was actually a very incredible, excited, tight turns like you mentioned. Laguna Seca, that was absolutely incredible here at CyberFox.
Yeah, again, seeing these head-to-heads, I feel is really exciting because you get to see the racer racing themselves, concentrating on their own race. They've got a lot of space, and so they can just sort of do what they like with it, really. You're not getting any collisions. You're not getting anybody getting into your line. So almost like a time trial, really, from Neojet, just pulling out all of the practice, all of the things that he's practiced, pulling out all of the stops, getting just... almost like his muscle memory back into the race. So yeah, I really like Icebreaker. I think it's fantastic. It's got 8 checkpoints. It's a figure of 8. It's got very nice geometry, and it's got very nice. Like I said, when CIG brought it in, they've put some nice buildings. They've made it like a nice atmosphere. It's very visually pleasing to race, and to see Neojet do that like a time trial live. Yeah, I think that's really exciting. Kind of reminds me of a ski resort, right?
No, it actually was incredibly fun to see. Hopefully my ping just went down. I apologize. Can you hear me well? Am I good here? So okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so no, I just had a high ping, so everything was kind of this looks like everything is settling down now. So I was kind of lagging from my end. But no, that race was absolutely exciting. I love seeing how tight Ninjetti was getting to those turns. I feel like Neojet has such a you can tell the practice, like you mentioned, kind of like the time trial, but you can tell he has such a decisive line, and it was so much cleaner because I felt like some of Ninjetti a little bit more on that tilt on the ship when they were going through. I believe it was the Matterhorn is what they call it. Almost hit that hill, and that was about to take him out, but kind of recovered there very, very well. And I just, yeah, this was a great race.
Yeah, again, it also shows the character of the ships, right? Mirai Razor, you can recover quite well because it's got sort of the same specs as the M50, but it flies different. It cuts sharp through the corners, but it's kind of like reliable. The Archimedes, though, it's literally top of the leaderboards for the majority of the tracks. It is the racing ship, so it's no wonder that Neojet, once he gets ahead, he can stay ahead because he's just using the weight of the ship, the fact that it's a super light snub ship, just
Like,
using
yeah.
that to his advantage.
Makes total sense. And then we got some incredible data here. We got I believe Neojet on a 59-second lap there on Icebreaker, Ninjetti on a 106, and then we have Ricky Ticky on a 1 minute and 14-second lap there on Icebreaker. And then we're gonna be coming up here to the snake pit here very, very soon.
Yeah, that's quite a wide spread. 9 seconds slower than Audito's top time on Icebreaker, which was 50 seconds during a time trial using P52 Merlin, so similar to the P72. But yeah, over to the Snake Pit now. Snake Pit is a race that I am less familiar with. It's one that is kind of a veterans track, I would say. It's one of the first proper XGR tracks that were made, and one of the first races that were ever organized in the PU. And it's also one of the first tracks that was shown to the CIG devs in a racing event. And the thing about this race, and I think a few of the racers have said it themselves, it feels like you're racing through the canyons in Star Wars. It feels like pod racing.
Yep. No, I think this one is one of my favorite tracks as well. Not only because of the difficulty, but we are going to be seeing, you know, how good you can control your ship during these turns. You know, our people are going to be drifting, and you know, we've seen. I feel like we in the past when I was watching, you know, at EA54, I feel like the Snake Pit was one of those tracks where people crash the most. So you know, if they really don't you know, counteract those G's when they're turning with boost. You know, from what I was watching this track in Jacqueline's last video that he just put out recently, they, you know, they could be in a huge problem here, Cyberfox.
Yeah, I think you're right to note the drifting as well. There's a corner, the second corner called Drifter's Paradise, because it's the first corner, sorry, after the start finish, Drifter's Paradise, because you really got to lay on the boost. You really got to fly sideways and yeah, rely on that head tracking, rely on the eye tracking to look left while you're turning right. So yeah, you're right to pick that out. And I think the sort of the space that they've got in this is almost what's the word? It's almost like a trick because the gates are really wide, like in Icebreaker, but you've got the walls next to you, and you've got the floor to contend with, and you've got pipes going across. So it's like Lawville outskirts on steroids.
No, I totally agree there, but I'm excited here. I believe the race is about to get underway here soon. I believe races are also getting checked again. And this is going to be the last race also for group group number 1, and then we're going to be jumping into into seeing group 2 race here shortly. But very excited to see Snake Pit. I really want to see a little bit more tight racing, Cyberfox. I think you know, I was hearing you get a little bit excited there while I was lagging for a second, but that's awesome to see. But I would love to see a little bit more of a close race between these racers here shortly.
I mean, I think that it would be great to see if that happens, but yeah, I unfortunately don't think it's going to be close, this one. I think the Razor just versus the snub ship just makes it a big enough of a difference that we're going to see quite a distance between them. Neither of these racers have a time trial recorded recently on Arena Commander for this track either, so I don't know how much practice they've put in. I don't know how regularly they've run this track. I don't know how familiar they are with it. So that could make the difference. That could be what makes one racer stand out above the other. But yeah, I think once one of them gets ahead, I think they're gonna stay in the lead. It also really depends on the knowledge, whether they remember where they are on the track. I think Herbie, I think it was Herbie. Somebody told me that they famously got lost during their first Daymar rally, and the Snake Pit for me is one of those tracks. I get lost on it quite a lot. I still haven't learned it myself. I do a little bit of racing on the side, but yeah, it's one of my most unfamiliar tracks.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see Herbie race as well. I believe they are coming now. They are in Group 3 in the 5 groups, so definitely love to see how the ground racers are going to put up against the ship races here soon. But yeah, I can't. Very very tough for this snake pit. We actually ran it on a ground race, reversed, or as people call it during ship racing, it was actually the proper way, but we called it reverse because it was our ground, version of what we did. And normally, real quick before it starts here, they would have to go across that pipe up top that they're going to be racing under. So, but we're still waiting for those good vehicle changes to hopefully come in, and we can, maybe race across some pipes again. But race is about to start here, so let's get some excitement in chat. Let's see who you are rooting for, whether it's Neojet, Ninjetti, or Ricky Ticky, to see who takes this race here on the Snake Pit. And they're off right now. Cyberfox.
Right, coming right up to Drifter's Paradise, and it looks like Neojet has taken the lead already, pulling around really tight, keeping the nose forwards, but yeah, moving sideways, as I said. Oh, and he's just been overtaken. Is it Ninjetti in the lead?
Oh, they're speeding through this
still up front. Yeah. The thing is with this track is it's literally 20 to 30 seconds. So the top time on this is 27 seconds. We're at 35 already.
And there we go. You see Neojet just zooming through. Ninjetti is literally right behind them. They're actually very close together here, Cyberfox. And it's
within a second of each other, yeah.
Yep, right behind there. So let's see if Ninjetti can pull this off here. Going through these turns. Good break and good usage of the boost here and the pitch. Man, this race is getting very, very tight here, Cyberfox.
Yeah, this is a great view. Oh my gosh, they just nearly collided there. So Ninjetti's got to watch out. And Ninjetti's got to watch out for where Neojet is. No. Oh, and Ninjetti's just collided. Or is it Neojet? I think they both collided. What's just happened?
Nope, it was all Ninjetti. I think Ninjetti just
it was Ninjetti, okay.
Yep, it's just slammed on the floor, and Neojet has smooth sailing here. I believe you still have Ricky Ticky on the race, but it looks like Neojet has that good control on that P72, doing a great job at just managing that boost and the pitch as well. Cyberfox is doing a good job.
Yeah, I think he must have just been on the edge of blacking out, which is why I thought he collided again, because he was really pushing it, pulling those Gs. I think he's just got to play it safe now. He's got to take it wide. He's got to make sure that he doesn't... He's coming in close to the corners, though. So, yeah, we might have another upset like we did on Lorville Outskirts.
Wow, that was some exciting racing. I think Ninjetti said, you know what? I am going to challenge every single moment and try to hopefully beat him out. But unfortunately, lost a little bit of control and, yeah, just kind of hit that floor. But... man, look at Neojet's lines. Very close, doing a great job. And I believe Neojet there takes that first place spot with if Ninjetti, if Ricky Ticky's still alive, also taking that second place spot here at the Snake Pit.
Yeah, Neojet was really, really consistent there. Really impressed. He just moved. He just like on the Snake Pit, you got to connect each corner together. Every corner flows one into the other, and if you mess up one corner, it's very likely that you're not going to get the following corner correct until you're back up to speed. Especially in these light ships, you've got to have the speed in order to be able to cut through the air. And so when you're drifting sideways, if you're not going fast enough out of one corner, then the next corner is going to have an impact, and it's going to slow your time as well. So really impressed. Neojet just kept it up, used again those time trial lines that clearly he's been practicing. I did question this at the start, but it just goes to show that Neojet's got that consistency from all that practice.
No, I think Neojet, the consistency there was absolutely fantastic. I mean, Ninjetti, felt I saw some different lines there, just going a little bit slower there. But man, this snake pit was definitely brought so much more excitement, and I saw the risk, man. I saw the the risk in Ninjetti's eyes. Like I need to go for it. But if you notice, believe it or not, because NeoJet actually messed up in the first round, Ninjetti actually got first place in that round, and then second place in race number 2. So it puts them very even in points right now, which I believe NeoJet is going to have 10 points for this group number 1, and then Ninjetti is also going to have 10 points in this group number 1. So this is going to be some tight racing. Ninjetti, I feel like taking a more safer route here, and NeoJet more with the clean lines, but hey, they're still tied, so it's still going to have to be for rush 2 or stage group 2 and 3 in order to see which of these are going to take the lead in their group.
Yeah, I think with these events as well, the way that they play into each other, it really makes a difference. The points that you collect along, so it's all about consistency. It's all about repeated performance, right? You can't just be taking a risk on one race and then crashing out, and then taking even more risk on the next race because you're behind. You've just got to stay calm, stay relaxed, and yeah, just keep it consistent.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and take it back to the analyst desk. We're going to be talking to Tint about the 3 races that he saw, and kind of get his opinion. So we should be back here now. And Tint, how you doing, man? An incredible 3 races here. We for some reason we didn't get Ricky Ticky's screen there, so apologize for that. For everybody at home that's watching, we'll make sure we get that fixed for the next one. But Tint, I mean, we saw a good 3 races, a final exciting snake pit there. What were your thoughts? Let's kick it off with just race number 1 with Louisville Outskirts. What were your thoughts on that race with these 3 racers?
I mean, we talked about in the sort of prep for this, the Neo's racing style is a little bit more aggressive, and I think we saw that a lot with him using the full extent of the checkpoints. And the thing about that is that, especially on Lorville and on Icebreaker after it, that's a bigger risk than it feels like. You're not just risking crashing; you're also risking the checkpoint misregistering if you fly in too far to the corners, and having to loop back and get it again, which can throw, depending on how quickly you catch it, it can throw 20 to 40 seconds onto a lap real quick. In some cases, you can even wind up where it's just faster to keep going around. So,
yep.
Seeing Neo take those risks, I was a little bit hesitant at first, and then of course he clipped his wing coming into that final checkpoint, and that was all she wrote. We saw the slightly more conservative race pace that Ninjetti was flying in the Razor really pay off. And
yep.
I mean, that was sort of, I think, what we expected to see, but it is always nice when it plays out the way that you think it's going to play out. So it is interesting to see that there's sort of NeoJet racing probably about 10 seconds back from what we would consider like record-setting pace, but absolutely a very aggressive race pace.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for him to clip that wing towards the end there, and that kind of made him lose the race. It was like literally towards the end, especially while we were talking about it, like pretty much commentators curse at that point. But hey, throwing it over to you, CyberFox. I know you had you were doing the play-by-play here, but any other comments you want to make on on race number 1 here on Lorville Outskirts?
Racer is something we spoke about early on, and Ninjetti I know is like an all-round racer. He's very proud to have made it to the finish line at the Daymar Rally with his team, so he's a good team racer as well. So it's
100%.
not just about the time trials. It's not just about being top of the leaderboards for one track. So I think Ninjetti's got quite a lot of like a wide skill set, and we all that's what we love about StarCitizen, right? It's systemic. It's got a lot to explore. It's got a lot to enjoy. And so, one day you might be great at ship racing. Another day you might be great at dogfighting. Another day you might be enjoying some ground racing. And I know Ninjetti enjoys all of those sort of all-round moments in the game. So I'm just glad that he's here. I'm glad that he's enjoying it. I know that he likes sports. I know that he likes competing. And then I know that he likes these challenges. So yeah, it's just good to see him here. It's good to see the names that we're used to seeing, and some new names coming up as well.
Well, awesome to see here. Well, the icebreaker, jumping into that one, tossing it over to you, Tint. We saw some. I mean, from seeing the difference of the P72 and seeing the Razor, I feel like NeoJet just has so much more full control on that Archimedes. But what were your thoughts on icebreaker and just how I think just NeoJet had just had a master class during that track?
I think it really is. Icebreaker is, as Fox mentioned, it's a racetrack we often recommend to beginners, and that's really
Yep.
because it's one where you can choose your own level of risk, how close you want to cut the Matterhorn, how close you want to cut coming into the wall, where you see them take that drop, come up, and then when they have to sort of roll over, invert, and turn in,
Invert.
the bottom of that ship is scraping the wall on an optimized run. It is. And so those
Wow.
those risks are what separates your absolute pros from your newer racers. And so I think this, we saw Neojet taking that more aggressive and risky flying style, and it paid off more in this case. Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. Kitty's
Um,
a lot on the stream.
well, he's sitting on the keyboard.
Oh, never mind.
So yeah, so we saw Neojet taking that more aggressive, risky flying style, and this time it paid off, where he was absolutely just out in front and staying out in front the entire time by taking those turns as tight as possible. Ninjetti, again, kind of just keeping what I would say a very safe race pace, ensuring that he stayed, where he needed to be. And ultimately, the difference between the ships is really, and that aggressive choice is what played it out.
Got it. No, yeah, I believe NeoJet took that first place and was able to, not clip his wing on that one and then get full points there. So, but I'm starting to see the big differences, especially in a high level races about, how are people using the Mirai Razor compared to the P72 Archimedes. But before we move on to the Snake Pit, any other thoughts on that icebreaker round from these three racers here, Cyberfox?
Yeah, I think first, if there's any mascot to be a mascot over control of gravity, it's a cat. So yeah, bring the kitty cat on stream for sure. And for your commenting about the bottom of these ships scraping the wall and Neojet being more aggressive and risky flying style, Icebreaker is literally the first racetrack that I put a time trial down myself because I'm trying to get into the racing scene, and you just sort of learn one track at a time. And what I find, you spoke about, the timings being a little bit slower than the record-setting pace, still about 10 seconds behind, and it does feel like that, doesn't it? It feels like, and I might throw this back to you, Tint, because when you're racing a track and you're learning it or you're trying a new line, you kind of feel like you're not going very fast, and you get this sort of impression that if you're not at time trial pace, it feels a lot heavier. I don't know if you feel the same, that you just kind of, it's almost a little bit disheartening that you kind of like trying to go fast, but you kind of just sort of slogging along.
For me, I think it boils more down to where my attention is focused. I think when we see racers who are dialed in on the TVI, they're just staring down a cone in the center of the screen, everything else gets lost, and that makes things feel really tight, really fast. Whereas when you're keeping your view wide so that you can keep an eye out for other racers and you can see where you need to vary your lines, there's a little bit more of a loss in terms of the sense of direct speed and control.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you kind of get the shutters as well when you're doing time trials, don't you? You kind of got the blinders on.
Yeah, you're seeing nothing but the line that you're planning to race, and sometimes you're not even really looking at that. You're thinking ahead to the next one.
And well, we're gonna see a lot more people, as the groups dwindle down to the semifinals and finals. We'll see definitely more racers grouped up, grouped up together, which is gonna definitely make it for a lot more excitement. Kind of like what we saw at Enter Atmosphere, like those six racers were absolutely so close to each other. It was absolutely great to see. So, anyways, last race here, the Snake Pit. Real quick, we had Cyberfox, you talk about like seeing laps about 27 seconds. Well, this time around we had NeoJet best lap was 40 seconds. We had Ninjetti around 46 seconds, and Ricky Tiki had that 1 minute and 18-second lap. I believe Ricky Tiki and Ninjetti kind of almost crashed like right after another. But I feel like we're seeing a little bit more because of that rule where if you crash out once, especially after during lap 1, you actually are going to get no points. So I feel like we're seeing a little bit of not safe racing, but people kind of holding a proper pace rather than just trying to jet it all the time. But Tint, what are your thoughts? Were from our third race here, this snake pit.
And I think I want to touch back on something that Fox said while the race was running, which is that Snake Pit is a racer's track, and it's a racer's track in the sense that it rewards pushing your luck. On these thinner atmosphere planets, when we see Snake Pit, when we see Yadar Valley, the faster you're going, the more the flight model actually kicks in. And a lot of players never even really kind of deal with the fact that StarCitizen ships have wings, and they act like they have wings. And so kind of in a weird twist, the more these racers slow down to try and be conservative, the more at risk they are of crashing. And I think that's why we saw, Ricky, who's been, it feels like, taking this incredibly safe, I just want to make sure that I finish the race approach to guarantee that he gets some points on the board, crashes out. And I think that's really just because he's going so slow that he can't handle the turns the way he's used to. And I think we saw the same thing with Ninjetti, where he was getting kind of boxed in behind Neo, and because he didn't want to push the speed and try and pass and be interfering in Neo's space and possibly run into him, he was going slower than expected, slid out, hit a wall.
Well, nope. I saw. Yeah, that was very, very on point there. Any other comments or thoughts here, CyberFox, on our on Snake Pit before we jump into upcoming Group 2?
Yeah, I think the flight model that Tint is referring to is obviously absolutely accurate, and it's kind of frustrating as a racer when you get it into your muscle memory what the flight model's like, and then it gets changed from patch to patch. And we're all looking forward to these new control surfaces coming up that's going to make racing a lot more technical. I don't know what that's going to be like. I haven't seen, I've not seen any spoilers or leaks or anything. So they're keeping a tight lid on that. But yeah, really excited to have the atmosphere and the air over the wing make a real big difference to the way that your ship handles and interacts in atmosphere. I think it's going to make a really big difference as well between there's already a huge difference between atmospheric racing and space racing, zero-G racing, right? So to have that added complexity is going to be really interesting to see in the future.
All right. Well, we have results for group number 1. Let's go ahead and take a look right now. I believe from what I can see is that we have some of the fastest lap here from group 1. We got Lorville Outskirts, NeoJet. It's going to be that 106 Icebreaker. NeoJet again at that 59 seconds, and then the Snake Pit, NeoJet again at 40 seconds. And then for points, we got NeoJet at 10 and Jetty again, because I think NeoJet could have gone max points throughout the race. Unfortunately, clipped in Lorville Outskirts. Ninjetti at 10, and then Ricky Tiki at 7. So not too far behind. Remember, these racers have stage 2 and 3, or rush 2 and 3. Coming up in the next few weeks, where they'll be able to understand now a little bit better how they need to race in order to hopefully maximize and maximize their points and hopefully move on to the semifinals here. So any other thoughts on kick it off back to you here, CyberFox? Any thoughts on some of the statistics here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the points are really close. We got NeoJet and Ninjetti both equal at 10 points, right? And we've got some nice times to compare with for Group 2 as well. So I think going forwards, it's not only keeping track of the points, but seeing how the next group stacks up against those lap times. 1 minute 6 on Lorville Outskirts. I don't really know how competitive that is. Icebreaker is a little bit more competitive. It's again about 8 seconds behind record time, I think. And then Snake Pit, again, it could be pushed a little bit more if you're flying sideways, if you're drifting around a bit more. I think there's time to be gained, and we might see that the racers from the other groups will start to challenge these races as well. And then when they come together, we'll see how that all pans out.
Gotcha. Last question your way that I'm gonna Tint, before we get into the next race. Looking at these times here, now that they're racing against each other, how can is there a lot of room for improvement to go faster? And what do the racers have to do in order to do that while they're competing, with other people where this is not a time trial?
I mean, absolutely, there's some room to move these times up because, I mean, as we saw, NeoJet was pushing closer to those time trial lines and he was getting closer to those time trial times. I think when we start to see some of the groups that have M50s in them, we may see these times pushed even further. And some of the upcoming pilots in P72s, I think, may also be able to push these times a lot more closer to what we would see as like a world record pace. So, I mean, yeah, right now being about 10 seconds back, I don't actually expect, looking at the groups we've got coming up, I don't expect us to be that far back on our fastest laps again.
Yep. Well, talking about Group 2, let's jump right into it. Coming up next is going to be the same three races. We're going to start off with Lower Outskirts, Icebreaker, and then jumping right into the Snake Pit. We have Liquid Prime, Shaqnu, Nickel, JG24, and Samtastic. So we're going to have 4 racers this time around. So excited to see this one. I know earlier we didn't have our third racer's point of view, but we should have everybody's point of view coming along. So it's going to be a little bit more of an exciting race. And I know we already got some of y'all's inputs on who's going to be, kind of racing already. But let's go back and take a look at what everybody is going to be competing for in the inaugural season for Gravity Rush. So let's take a quick look at our prizing because I want everybody to get excited, right? There's people need to be able to compete. So for first place, we have a shiny brand new Gravity Rush trophy for the 2955 champion. We actually made medals. So we have actual like very heavy bronze medals that we'll be able to ship out to the winners. We have an one Origin 600i for the winner. They're going to get a Gravity Rush Championship jacket, a race suit pack. They're going to get a pair of VKB Gladiator NCXT Evos, some Monster Tech mounts, and then they're going to get invited to our next ATMO Esports next LAN event. So across the board, the top 3 is going to be able to get invited to any LAN event or to the LAN event that we do, possibly the next Citizen Con. They'll be able to, kind of experience and compete on stage, which, Tint, you had the ability to do, and then CyberFox had the ability to cast. So any thoughts on some of these prizes for the top 3?
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in. The first thing is just that Atmo does such a great job with these trophies, right? I've seen them live. I've held one. They're magnificent. And so, actually, I wanted to ask a question of you, Crucian, because we've got our whole racing community that is growing. We've got Anzia Racing that do the Sim Cup, the Crumbs Cup, Scarlet Apex, and Super Dragon Tofu Run. We've got Extreme G Racing with the Stanton Cup and the British Army Esport. We've got Black Star Underground. We've got Atmo Esports with the Daymar Rally, Grey Cat Social, System 7, Fight or Flight, and now Gravity Rush. And you've got all these exciting t-shirts and medals and awards and trophies and events going on. And honestly, we don't get to hang out that much, but I just want to know what it's like to be one of the, I think, one of the people who is at the forefront of this community putting on these events. What does it take? What's the sort of organization that goes into events like this?
And that's a very hard question to answer, man. I'm gonna say the way that everybody always tells me, right? No matter how good you are at organizing a race, no matter how good at you're organizing an event, no matter what, you're never gonna get enough appreciation for those people that are always behind the scenes, man. And it's always like that, no matter what. So honestly, it comes from just the passion of StarCitizen. I've been in this community since 2015. There's no like I don't even worry. Being in the esports, I was one of the esports managers for North America at Logitech and Astro. I'm not there anymore, of course, but that what kind of built the passion for esports. And like, I don't want to do it, with the fighting game community. I don't want to do it with the COD community. I've been in all these communities. I want to do it here with the Star Citizen community, having that feeling of building something from grassroots from the beginning up to where it's at now. It's probably one of the best feelings in the world for me. So, yeah. So, I mean, while we never get the credit, any organizer deserves, whether it's Anzia, XGR, or any of the communities that are putting together events, man, is just I'm always gonna stay passionate and continue, giving people a dream of competing in front of thousands of people, cheering on for them, and giving them that feeling that they're like, that energy that they never want to get rid of and come back and hopefully do it again. So that's
Yeah,
that's
I
where that
mean,
comes from.
it's so good, and I think you guys make it really special as well. With like I said, going back to those trophies and those prizes, everybody loves like to win a ship or to have something like a memento to take home. I got some photos from Enter Atmo that yeah, I cherish them, so I think that's really great. Over to Tint, I was just wondering, Tint, are there any sort of mementos or trophies or things that you've got that you've kept over the years?
You can't see them, but the right out of shot here on my wall is the little flyer for Inner Atmosphere and the badge that all of the other racers signed and Louis signed and Steve signed for me. And then over here, again, just out of frame, I got to get a wider camera shot here, is an Anzio Racing poster that is, it has from Crux Cup, the first time we did Gold Rush, and it's got my world record time on it that Echo put on there.
Yeah, and
So
you're wearing the
like
Crux
I've
Cut
got
T-shirt as well.
oh yeah, and yes, my official Frontier Racing got my name and racing number there on the sleeve, Rex Cup jersey. Yeah. So it does kind of stack up. I've got 5 or 6 jerseys in the closet now. I've got posters scattered throughout the house in frames, but all of them fantastic memories.
Awesome. I believe we're getting the next race on the way for group number 2. So we should be able to pass it over here and then we'll get that started. But I love seeing all of the mementos. I love seeing all of that. Funny enough, we were supposed to have the jerseys for everybody in person, but we just didn't get that stuff on time. Thanks, Customs. But anyways, group 2 is ready to roll. So let's jump right into our next track again. For group number 2, which is going to be Lorville Outskirts. Tint, we'll see you back right here very, very soon. All right, here we go, CyberFox. Looks like I'm not lagging anymore, so we should be good. But yeah, looking forward to seeing group number 2 go. We already talked about these guys, so excited to see Shaqnu and Liquid Prime, where you guys really highlighted there, and to see how this is going to work out. And to see if there's going to be a little bit more tighter racing, if we see that here for this track number 1.
Yeah, I think once the first round is over, these guys will really get into the flow of the event as well. It's definitely an in-the-zone mindset that you have to keep. I know that Samtastic really gets into the zone as well. He tells me that he's a Mario Kart champion at home. So bringing that feeling to StarCitizen is quite exciting as well.
Yeah, I'm very looking forward to it. And we have everybody's feeds. This is what we want to see in order to see all the action, to see all the placements, to see every single detail that you at home are going to want to watch. And remember, so the points breakdown is going to go, because this is a group of 4, is going to be 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. If they do crash in lap 1, unfortunately, they're going to be DNF and get 0 points. So all I got to do is make sure that they, that they get through lap number 1 if they want to be get some points on the board and hopefully move on into the semifinals after rush number 3. So very excited to see what's going to happen here. Seeing everybody's feed, the energy already for me, it's already going to be high for this one here, CyberFox.
Yeah, I think, have we got 3 razors, or is that 2 razors and an M50? I can't tell from a distance, and we've got 1 snub fighter as well. So it's going to be quite a packed race. I think it's going to be quite tight. And what they're doing at the moment is the pre-race
checks,
cycling of their landing gear. So the pre-race checks, just to make sure that there's no glitches in the game. And we've got a 60-second countdown for the start of the race.
Yep, and that is an M50. Just to confirm, Liquid Prime is going to be in that M50, and then you have Shaqnu in the P72, and then you got Nickel JG in that in the Razor, along with Samtastic 7 on the Razor. So here we go. We got 30 seconds to count down for this race for group number 2 in Lorville Outskirts. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I don't know about the races, but even my palms are sweaty right now.
All right, well, you just got to hold on tight and see what happens here. We should be able to see some exact racing here. Remember, each course, is going to be 3 laps, and we should be able to start. Here we go.
And they're off. So again, coming down this long straight, there's going to be a lot of space between them. Liquid Prime is already pinging because he's got a bit of rain. There's a bit of rain and weather on his windshield. But this first one where they get to squeeze down between the canyon here, very, very tight. Can't tell if we've got an early leader or not. It looks like Samtastic is slightly behind.
Yeah, here we go. I think we're seeing Liquid Prime in that first place. Yep, I think we're seeing Liquid Prime taking the lead here, but this is crazy because you know, I believe in AC the weather is random, if I'm not mistaken here, Cyberfox.
Yeah, I mean, you never know what sort of time of day that you'll get in the PU, but having this to contend with, it's, yeah, you kind of want the windshield wipers, right? I can't even tell what part of the track they're on. They must be really relying on their memory. It looks like Nickel JG24 is slightly behind, pulling up and round, taking it easy. I think he's going to come through. Oh, a little bit of a spin out there, but coming through the mail slots. Got to avoid those cranes. Very hard to see with this weather. Very hard to see those pipes and those chains coming down. Looks beautiful though. All of the lights off of the windshield.
Yeah, I think it looks incredible here. Shacknu just passed for lap number 2 at a lap at 1:06. It's kind of honestly roughly about where Neojet was at earlier for group number 1. And we see a little bit of spit out with Nickel JG, but recovering here. I feel like, hey, this terrain is not being favored currently. But I mean, you don't see Shacknu slowing down, not 1 second here, Cyberfox.
No, and Nickel JG is taking it quite tight as well. Samtastic drifting through the corners. They've got a lot of different styles. Liquid Prime is on his side, so he's just 90 degrees and then just pulling backwards and forwards. Shacknu doing a similar sort of technique. So it looks like they are really competing, trying to keep to those time trial lives. It looks like the spread of the pack has spread out a bit, and Shacknu coming in for the checkpoint for lap number 3, and Liquid Prime hot on his heels. There's still quite a distance between them. I think Shacknu is setting the pace here, 2:14.
Yeah, Shacknu's doing a great job. I love seeing Samtastic, man. He's doing a great job at just, you know, keeping that economy management that you guys always mentioning very, very tight. Doing a good job. You're seeing a little bit of that, you know, that ship shaking because of the rain and the weather, but doing a great job at pretty staying, you know, comfortable here in that 3rd place position for in their last lap here.
He's pushing it. He's got those tight G's for the blackout coming up as well. He seems to be drifting around using the Razor because it can go sideways a lot more easily than some of the other ships. Yep. So he seems to be pulling around. He's doing that on this 180 as well, just drifting around through the canyons. Shacknu again, I think, is still in 1st place, coming up probably near towards the end right now. He's about, I think, 2/3 of the way through the track.
Yep, I believe.
Yeah, there's the finish line.
Yep.
And through the line.
Taking that
1 minute 6 seconds.
Place spot. Yep. The Shacknu taking that 1st place spot. I believe Liquid Prime should be following up here. There we go. A couple finishes right behind each other. It looks like they were probably maybe about a second, probably under a second and a half apart there. But here you go. Samtastic is going to take a 3rd place spot here once he can keep it steady here. But I love that Nickel G, no matter what, coming in, having some fun in this weather and giving it all they got, Cyberfox.
Yeah, they've got to contend with the match ending coming up on their screen as well, right in the center. So CIG should probably fix that, put it in the side or somewhere, because they know that they're still racing, right? They know that the other guys have finished, and yeah, looks like Samtastic's just coming through the finish line and across the line now. 1:23.
Awesome.
Nickel G to finish the race.
Yep, it's almost there. He should be able to finish up. No, crashes out. Oh man, he probably did it on purpose, you know. G. Yeah, probably did it on purpose. He's like, well, they already finished, might as well, you know. But that was some very good racing there, Cyberfox. That was actually very exciting to see. Shacknu, man, you know, seeing Shacknu use the P72, another masterclass, doing very well. But I mean, Liquid Prime, man, just was right behind them the entire time. but Shacknu did not mess up one time, didn't budge, and didn't give any space to Liquid Prime to catch up at all, Cyberfox.
Yeah, and this is about that consistency that we talked about earlier. Shacknews and Liquid, both veteran racers, so I think once they got into the mindset, once they got a little bit more comfortable with the weather, then they just kept it easy. Again, the leaderboards show about 55 seconds with Boltok holding the world record for this track. So still 10 seconds behind the time trial times. So we're seeing a lot of consistency with this race compared to the first group as well. Similar sort of times happening.
Yep. I mean, NeoJet was around that 106, like I mentioned. I believe also using the P72. I think Shacknu was 1 millisecond, like almost a millisecond and a half faster than NeoJet from group number 1. So that was interesting to see. But out of all the 3 ships so far, it seems like the P72, is doing very, very well here.
Yeah, I mean, again, it holds and the P52, the snub ships hold all of the spots on the leaderboard. I think on this track, literally every single submission apart from one M50, I think, is a P52. So these snub ships do really well. They respond quite predictably compared to the M50. There weren't any M50s in this race, but yeah, a very nice ship. You got a strong nose authority, and when you pull on the boost, you can get cut through the corners really nicely.
Yeah, I love seeing the perfect pitch of some of these racers as well. They already know what they're doing. Man, I absolutely love just, first time kind of looking more deeply into ship racing after into atmosphere. I was actually racing the snake pit recently, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this one. I might as well go to one of the easier races. But no, Icebreaker is coming up, and I'm excited for this one because now having to see everybody's feeds, we should be able to get way more interesting vision of how close these guys are going to be. Will Shacknu continue to keep that line and that perfect line and hopefully keep that lead, or will Liquid Prime be able to hopefully catch up and catch somebody slacking and hopefully pick up first place in this round here, Cyberfox?
Yeah, I think again, when the points start to add up, when we see the results of this group compared to the next group, that's when it's going to get really competitive. Right now, they're sort of getting into it, getting comfortable. Again, using their own equipment. They're probably sat at home with their slippers on, right? Just taking it easy. But yeah, the Icebreaker is a much easier race than the Snake Pit. Again, I've put a time down on the Icebreaker myself, but not the Snake Pit as well. So I've faced the same challenges as you. Because it's more forgiving, because
Yep.
it's got a lot more space, you can sort of really push yourself, I think, in the Icebreaker. So I'm looking to see Liquid and Shacknu battle it out again on this one. Really go head to head, really take the lead as far ahead as possible, and try and what's the word? Like, try and increase the gap that they've got. So try and increase their leadership.
All right, well, here we go. I believe we're about to begin this race. I believe they're going to be doing a couple checks, and then we should be ready to go. But yeah, I love, seeing everybody's feeds just gets me, while I always love seeing overhead cameras, I like watching them race within the cockpit, seeing the type of, how they're using their afterburners or boost, as we call it, throughout the race, especially the timing, because honestly, uh, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but there's been so many different points on how are people using boost, and everybody has their own philosophy on how to race some of these tracks, et cetera, et cetera. So I love seeing those different timings of when people are using boost throughout the races here, Cyberfox.
Yeah, I think they're thinking about their strategy. They're thinking about the long term. Again, multiple laps. It's not the same as time trials, so they've got the opportunity, if they fall behind, to try and use the boost to catch up, to try and use the boost to correct a bad corner. So yeah, it's all about that long term strategy, I think.
Yep, I'm very well looking forward to it. So I believe we are about a few seconds away here for this race to start and go underway. Again, we got Liquid Prime in the M50. We got Shacknu in the P72. We have Nickel in the Mirai Razor and Samtastic 7 in the Mirai Razor. You know, while I feel like Nickel G and Samtastic, I feel like the rain kind of threw him off in that last map from what I think, because that the weather is so new this time around when it comes to racing that maybe not enough people have the experience on their Cyberfox. So I think Nickel and Samtastic is definitely going to have more of a of a faster race this time around, because that was honestly like unexpected to have, Lorville outskirts in the rain this time around.
Yeah, and I think in real racing, because this 60 seconds to race start, but yeah, the real racing skills transfer over. This kind of reminds me a bit of a mix between Formula One and MotoGP, right? Where the weather is a character. And in Icebreaker, quite often, as I said in the first group, you have to contend with storms. But yeah, you point out that they're not, they've not got a whiteout. They haven't got any snow on this one, so it should be a nice clean race. We should see some close to time trial lines.
Can you imagine this race in snow and your whole cockpit is getting icy and you have like minimum visibility? That's gonna be, man, that would be super tough. But here we go. We got 30 seconds to go here, CyberFox.
I think they're just moving into race mode now. Nickel JG turning his shields off.
3, 2, 1, and they should be off here any second.
All right, looks like Liquid Prime's taking an early lead, keeping it nice and tight and low to the ground. There's Samtastic right behind him, climbing up this hill. There's 4 inversions in this track, so you got to roll like 4 times to get through all of the checkpoints without blacking out or redding out. You can see Samtastic inverting there as well to get around Matterhorn, and then coming down to this drop that's a bit like Laguna Seca that I pointed out before. So just moving left and right and up and down and just forcing your ship to go around these corners in lots of different directions.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a great turn there by Samtastic, actually, like being so close to the, towards that mountainside. But, we're seeing a little bit more of a push here from Liquid Prime, I believe, still taking on that lead. And then you see Shacknu right behind. You see Samtastic, I think, doing a much better job. There is no weather here, so I feel like they can definitely push it a little bit more. There's still visibility issues, and I think Samtastic has some great lines here. And, hopefully the potential to come up on right behind Liquid Prime. But, hey, CyberFox right now just seeing Shacknu pass Liquid Prime here, taking the lead.
Yeah, so he crossed the finish line just ahead of Liquid Prime. Liquid Prime's hot on his heels, and Shacknu just keeping it really tight. Liquid Prime blacking out. Oh, he's redding out. That was really close. Doing a bit of a dolphin dive there. That's where you pitch up, pull back, and then push down to pitch forwards as well, so to try and counteract the Gs. Really pushing it to the edge of the race here. I can't see the racer ahead in his field of view. I know that he's right behind. You can just see the line. You can just see the trail behind the ship. So they're only maybe just over a second gap between each other.
Yep, I believe that was
just in the lead coming around, I think, for the next lap.
Yep, that is Shacknu that he's seeing right there in the trail. Liquid Prime had that initial. Ooh, that was close in that crossover. Did you see that?
Yeah. Yeah, that was exciting. We just saw a razor just nearly clip across Liquid there, I think it was.
All right, you got Shacknu and Liquid Prime on their final laps too.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's funny to point that out in a Group 1 and then to see it happen live. But Shacknu's still keeping it tight, and Liquid Prime's still redding out. So they're keeping to those practice lines. It just goes to show that these races are consistent. They're using what they've practiced. Somewhat of view, I don't know if that's a back marker. I don't know if he's coming up on somebody at the moment, but Nickel JG has just seen Shacknu pass him, so I think he's just past Nickel JG as a back marker.
Yep, I see Nickel JG still holding on strong and, using their management accordingly. But I think Shacknu and Liquid Prime really doing a great job. I think Shacknu is going to be taking this one again. Finishing right there in first place, and then Liquid Prime right behind. Honestly, Liquid Prime not even a few seconds behind, about to finish here, and call it. There we go. And then we got Samtastic, who's going to be taking once they, they can stay straight and not, not crash here. They should be able to hopefully come up in that third place spot, and then Nickel G right now.
Yeah, it's all about points on the board at this moment. If they can finish the race again on the crossover, just seeing each other pass. If they can finish the race within the time to capture those points, it will be really worth it to have the points on the board. Nickel JG struggling a little bit around Matterhorn, coming back down to the checkpoint, resetting himself. I think he's lost his way a little bit. There we go, back on track, keeping it tight. 60 seconds to finish this lap. Now his lap time's been a little bit slower, but the world record lap time for this track is 50 seconds. There's only just about 50 seconds now, so even if he goes at half world record speed, he should be able to finish this race. I've got my fingers crossed for him. I hope that he makes it. I hope that he takes these corners nice and wide. He's got about 2 or 3 checkpoints left.
Yeah, I'm also hoping that he finishes as well here. He just got about 37 seconds before he completes, or before they complete this track here. Going well. Here goes the last couple of checkpoints here. Come on, 26 seconds. Need to push it here. Get that boost going. And here we
Looks
go.
like he's safely across the line.
Awesome. Fantastic. We got all 4 racers finished. Cyberfox, what does, Samtastic, I feel like doing a great job at, keeping up, but as the race goes on, you see that gap opening up between, Shacknu, Liquid Prime, but I feel like Samtastic is not too far behind on trying to keep up with Shacknu and Liquid Prime here.
Yeah, I think again in a live race, it's okay to have that time spread on the board, 1 minute 8 seconds. But Shacknu, the pressure, what was it, 54 seconds? I didn't see that closely enough, but again, the world record, there it is, 54 seconds. Yeah, 4 seconds behind world record time. So he's keeping the pressure, really keeping to those time trial lines again with the snub ship. I think it's good that Nickel JG and Samtastic finished the race, and again, points on the board is what it's all about, and they've got to keep that consistency up. But if they're up against racers like Shacknu, who's pushing the limits, pushing towards those time trial times, these later groups are going to be a lot more competitive, I feel.
Yeah, I totally agree here. And I believe Laser seeded the groups a certain way, and I believe with our 4 groups, we're gonna see the top 3 move on into the semifinals. So that's gonna be important because you're gonna get I believe it's gonna be 2 groups of 6s, if I'm not mistaken, where those 2 groups of 6s are gonna be really competing to see who's going to get into into the finals, and they're going to have ways that they're going to get pushed up and down into the leaderboards, which is going to be interesting to see, and how they're going to do the rushes during the semifinals. But so far, we're going to race number 3, which we're going to see the Snake Pit. We see Liquid Prime from the Icebreaker, and his best lap is in a 103, and then Samtastic is a 108, and then you got Nickel, which is going to be a 145. Honestly, regardless of whether you're behind or not, Cyberfox, I think Nickel is doing a great job. I couldn't do half as good as he is, to be honest. Yeah. So a lot of props to him.
That's the thing. It looks like they're ready to launch for the Snake Pit, but you're absolutely right. Watching these races, it's kind of easy to sit here and not criticize, but just sort of point out all of the mistakes, point out the slow times, and compare it to world records of all things. Like if you compared me to Usain Bolt, I'm going to be coming miles behind. So yeah, these guys are doing a great job just finishing and just competing, because I know that I can't. Right, I've tried the Snake Pit and I crash and I crash and I crash and I crash. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see this. And on your comment of the way that the groups are seeded, what we want to see in every race is like a mix. So we got our wild cards. We got those racers who are either slightly new to the scene or haven't posted such fast times, mixed in with those world record holders. So we got some names that we recognize against some names that we're not so familiar with. And I think that's what brings excitement to the field, because later on, we're going to remember those names. We're going to remember how they battled it out. We're going to remember the stories. And then in 2 weeks, when we get to the next round, they're going to have that experience to bring along with them.
Yep. No, I totally agree, and very good call on that point out there, Cyberfox. So, but here we go. We're getting ready here for the Snake Pit. Honestly, one of my favorite courses, tracks to watch, and yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, favorite track to watch. I hear you, Crucian. I feel exactly the same.
I mean, honestly, another interesting one that we have coming up in the next few groups that I can easily say is Yardar Valley is another great one to watch. You know, and then we're going to see one of my other favorite ones, which is Kaplan Stadium, just because you have to have the slalom is absolutely magnificent. So, you know, I can't wait for these other groups that are, you know, for these next few weeks. By the way, if you're still watching at home, every 2 weeks, we're going to have, Gravity Rush back. So after this is going to be July 12th. And then after that, we're going to have stage 2 is July 12th. Stage 3 is going to be July 26th. And then you're going to have your semifinals on August 9th. And then your finals is going to be on August 23rd, which we're going to crown your top 3 and see who's going to get invited to the next LAN tournament that, ATMO Esports put together. So, but Cyberfox, we're 60 seconds away from this next race.
Yeah, and like you were saying, we've got every racer repeating the tracks. We got Liquid Prime here in his swag, in his racer outfit with grenades on him as well. So I don't know what his normal player is like. He probably plays Arena Commander for some PvP FPS as well. 30 seconds to go. But it's good to see the individual characters. Samtastic's got a nice little paint on his razor as well. I think it might be the Foundation Festival paint. I caught a quick glimpse of it, but yeah. It's nice to see the individuality, and it'll be nice to see some more tracks in the later rounds as well.
Nope, totally agree. I believe we have about 10 seconds almost to go, and then we're going to see the Snake Pit on the way, which I'm again once excited.
3,
so let's see.
2, 1, and I think they should be off.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Already with some speed here, Liquid
Prime. What's going on here? Liquid Prime drifting.
Ooh,
oh, Liquid Prime has lost control and he's DNF'd already. Oh my gosh. Liquid Prime is out. Nickel is stalled. Samtastic and Shaknu are still in. Shaknu is really pushing it. Redding out, pulling as much cheese as he can through the corners. Samtastic using his boost, riding his boost and drifting through those corners. Again, using that head tracking. Oh, he's going to hit he just nearly hit the pipes. This is going to be an exciting race. Shaknu is really pushing the speed limit here. 37 seconds for the first lap.
Wow, very tight on that turn. Shaknu is really, like you're mentioning, pushing to the limit, but it was unfortunately because Liquid Prime did not survive Drifter's Paradise. It's Nickel just not even, probably like you said, stalled out there, but Samtastic doing a great job, and all Samtastic has to do is continue to survive, and he will find a second place spot here at the Snake Pit. So man, look at Shaknu's lines, just perfection out of these. And like I'm honestly like baffled by how quickly they're moving. 35 seconds on that one, Cyberfox.
35, yeah. That's really, really quick. And we got 2 different techniques here as well. Shaknu rolling and pitching, so just grinding away using those verts and those lats to pull up and push down and pull up and push down, doing a little bit of a dolphin dive into a roll there. Whereas Samtastic completely different. He's going sideways through the entire track, so he's literally drifting corner after corner after corner. The trouble with Sam is he's struggling to keep it low to the ground because he's drifting. The razor is kind of like lifting, because obviously, you got aerodynamic lift as well. And Shaknu, look, as he just finished the race. Yeah, he's just finished the race. 34 seconds for his last lap. Samtastic still drifting through, taking nice, wide, easy turns. But as long as he finishes, it means points on the board.
Yeah, I mean, Samtastic honestly doing a great job, right? Like you mentioned, Shaknu's using that pitch perfectly on the P72, but you see the Razor. Honestly, Sam Tastic doing a great job at just drifting. And there he goes. He should have already finished there, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah.
yep, there we go. That was a finish there. But Shacknu, man, a 34-second lap time is going to be that fastest lap. But Sam Tastic doing a great job and getting at least second place, which is going to put him some fun points on the board. And I think he may be taking second place in that group with that finish. I am not 100% sure, but we'll see the results right after this. All right, CyberFox. Well, let's go ahead and get back to the desk here, and let's break down this group and these next tracks with Tint. All right. Oh, that was a quick rolling. I was like trying to do some weird stuff over here. I was trying to stretch my back out. I'm like, that was quick. Tint, man. Yeah, this group definitely, we were able to see a lot of more of the point of views of all the racers. But man, that was some exciting racing. Definitely between, like you guys mentioned already, between Shacknu and Liquid Prime. But hey, let's kick it off once again with Lorville Outskirts, where we saw definitely some relative times compared to the previous group, but it was in the rain. So, Tint, break it down for us, man. What happened here in this track number 1?
I think this really was, and I'd be curious to see if we can hear from Liquid on this, because looking at the paces, I don't honestly think that the way that they were thrown off by the rain was equal, because we saw Shacknu in his sort of very usual style, super mechanical, super technical in how he's setting up his turns, super precise rolls. Whereas Liquid, we saw taking a little bit more of a conservative approach, and in the M50, that wound up costing him what I think was probably a lot of time on the table. I also noticed that Liquid's view seemed to have a little bit of a darker cast. I don't know if his settings are a little different, but the visibility factor alone may have pushed Liquid sort of further back from where he would normally be on times for that particular race. And I think this is also just a great example again of even with the disruption, the P72 is letting the racers that pick it sort of fly more intuitively, fly the way they always would. Whereas because the M50 does have that such a demanding need for pushing red outs, pushing blackouts, when you're also losing visibility to rain and darkness, you stack those things together and it's dicey. It's always going to be a little bit of a rough sell.
No, I definitely agree. I was honestly very, very well surprised that but I mean, everybody's on the same playing field, and I mentioned this while I was casting with CyberFox, is that the weather is literally brand new to this patch, and not many people maybe have enough time with practicing in any weather conditions right now. So, but yeah, CyberFox, any thoughts on Lorville Outskirts, especially in the rain, which actually was to me pretty exciting,
Yeah, I mean. I think, like you say, Christian, it really tests the racer's knowledge, and like Tint says, it does affect them differently. So it was kind of hard to see. The thing with the times though is, what was it, Neojet 106 during round 1, and we got Shacknu with 106 in round 2 for the best laps as well.
Yep.
So they're showing that they really do have that knowledge. They really do know what they're doing to pull out those times. Liquid Prime 107, so just a little bit behind that. And yeah, Ninjetti 110, Ricky Tiki 132, and we got Samtastic 122. So it just goes to show that those racers who have practiced, like you said, Christian, those racers who've got that experience, that knowledge of the track, are the ones that fared better with the weather. And it's hard as well when you're a viewer to sort of interpret this, to figure out what's going on. So it's good that we've got 3 experts here, Tint especially, who is a pro racer, to break it down for the audience, to explain those little nuances that make all the difference. But yeah, really shocked and surprised to see that 106 from Neojet and 106 from Shacknu. What consistency!
Yeah, I totally agree. Tint, have you to before we jump into track number 2 here, have you raced in the weather conditions, and how much more challenging is it if you have? Especially with with the type of weather that just came into these newer patches in StarCitizen.
The new rain I have not had too much
Okay.
experience with yet, but it's absolutely, even the old rain is super dicey. It's why we saw for a really long time, pretty much every competitive racer was turning weather off. It was just not something we wanted to deal with. You didn't want to
Yeah.
lose the frames to having clouds being rendered. You didn't want to have rain on your screen. And so very recently, CIG took the option to turn the weather off away from us. So now we are all forced to run with it, whether we want to or not. And
Well, yeah.
so racers who I guess were racing with it before may be seeing that they now have a real strong advantage in that they're used to this. And there's a lot
Used
of
to.
us out
Yeah.
there who have never had to touch that before.
No, I totally get it. To be honest, I would rather the weather off, obviously, but we don't have that choice. I think the weather off, kind of keeps that that competitive integrity, especially for people that don't have that practice that may slow them down a lot more. I would rather people be at that, top level every single time. But jumping into the icebreaker, where we saw again Shaqnu, one of his best laps there was 54 seconds. Right behind him was Liquid Prime at 103. But Liquid Prime actually had a very, in the beginning he had a very good lead, but Shackney just, took over. I think after the right after the they started their second lap. So Tint, any thoughts on this race within that group number two?
Yeah, I think here we're seeing Shacknu make his gains in the corners, and I think that's part of why we saw that early lead from Liquid that sort of dissolved very quickly over the
Yep.
course of the first lap. Was that as they made their way through Matterhorn, as they made their way through the back section of turns, we saw Shacknu just inching off a little bit every single time they went around a corner. And once he was out in front, again, there just really wasn't any catching up because any
Yeah.
advantage that Liquid had on the straights was again eaten up in the corners. I think Liquid was able probably to push a lot closer to the limits of the M50 on the icebreaker run here. Again, without the weather, without any sort of interference factor there. I think it was more what I expected to see from him in terms of the flying style and the confidence in the flying.
Confidence. Yeah.
Especially we saw him taking some of those downturns, taking some red outs, pushing it a little bit harder. Um, I think I want to shout out specifically on Icebreaker. I think probably we had Samtastic being a little bit on the nerves on outskirts
Yeah.
and sort of getting that confidence coming into race two. It's definitely a different flying style, and it's one that I would honestly suspect that Sam may be coming from a more combat oriented perspective, where he's used to turning on 45s. He's used to pushing with the mains more than he's used to pushing with the maneuvering
Mm.
thrusters. But we also see a lot of racers that have learned to fly in the most recent patch are more dependent on their main thrusters because the maneuvering thrusters have been sort of pushed down in significance from where they used to be back in the 315 flight model that a lot of us learned on. Um, but starting with Icebreaker, Sam's pace is, I mean, it's not world record shattering, but it's on pace with Ninjetti, which is a
Yep.
massive accomplishment in its own right.
Very good
Uh,
point, by the way. Very good point.
yeah, so I think a little bit more training, a little bit more stick time, and Sam will absolutely be a racer to be reckoned with.
No, I think very good point there. And one thing that we really even haven't touched on is the turbulence too. I'm pretty sure that's brand new because I've never seen that before, and that was probably brand new in the patches. So seeing them put in that boost, especially during weather, they have some of that turbulence happening as well. But man, that's Cyberfox. Any thoughts on Icebreaker for group number two?
I mean, you guys have just covered so much ground, and I suppose so much. No, I got loads. It's just you've given me loads to go on, and there's like so much controversy as well in like the updates to the game. Right? You were both touching on the weather and the clouds. I know my machine. I play on a laptop of all things. It melts when I can't turn clouds off. So I'm sat here in a small room. I'm sweating my ass off just watching this race as well. But yeah, having the weather forced on, having the clouds forced on, I think that's a discussion in itself. And then Tint spoke about the flying style being more dependent on their main thrusters. I mean, that's again controversial because like I love the 6 degrees of freedom. I love the Newtonian flight model that I learned when I played StarCitizen. That's what made me fall in love with the game. And so the sort of more I don't know what the word is, but the more restrictive flight models that are brought into the game that make you use those mains more rather than having 6 degrees of freedom makes
Yep.
sense in atmosphere. Of course it does. It makes less sense in 0G. And there's a preference, isn't there, to the old racers, those veterans having more control of their ship, whereas the new racers don't have that to compare with, so they don't have to update their flying style. They don't have to break their racing memory, and it just goes to show that racers like Shaknu and Splen, who've been racing for such a long time, have had to change their style again and again and again, and still they're on top, still they're performing. And then the third thing that you spoke about is the race times of the slower racers. So, again, it's very easy to sit here and not criticize, but sort of discuss the gaps in the pack and focus on how far ahead Shaknu is. But you're right to notice that Samtastic, although being further back, and Shaknu's fast pace making it look like Samtastic is far behind, Samtastic was actually at the pace of the Group 1, matching with Ninjetti's pace. So, the way that the groups are mixed, again, it just shows that the further on this tournament goes, the closer these times are going to get, the more similar these races are going to get, and I think the spread of the pack is going to get a lot narrower as well.
All right, no, I think that's perfectly set there. So it is going to get more competitive, and that's the whole point. And while we had so many people sign up, but I wish we had all those groups together, because it would have made things a lot more interesting. Seeing at least I think we were gonna have I think like 4 groups of 6 or 5 groups of 6. So it would have been really good to see a lot of that momentum, especially everybody racing. But it's okay, things come up. So hopefully, the first season of Gravity Rush gets more people, excited, whether, they're racing at XGR or Anzio, or get people excited, because I think what we want to do with this, there's no, I think the whole point was to get, people to CitizenCon with this event, and people able to actually compete in person and get that experience that, that a lot of the other, racers like Neojet and Tint had. And I want people to kind of understand that when somebody is cheering for you, it's a whole different, it's a whole different perspective, and you're feeling that thunder in the audience. So, but yeah. Anyways, Snake Pit is coming up. This is going to be our last track breakdown before we take a little break. But we got Snake Pit here, where we saw Shaknu 43-second lap. We saw Liquid Prime in the beginning clip a pipe right there. Look at that, boom. And just unfortunately couldn't recover. But Tint, I'm gonna let you break this one down for us. Snake Pit for group number 2. What were your thoughts here?
I mean, heartbreak for Liquid. This is a track that I think he would have really expected to do well on. It's one that he's got more experience on than a lot of people. Shaknu's approach to this is what I would call clinical, bordering on pathological. It's absolutely textbook. And even to the point where I have a note written down here from the start line that Shaknu intentionally chose to blind himself to Liquid on the start line. He set up with the intent of full sending a time trial line regardless of what happened. And so he put his belly down, pre-rolled for the first turn into drifters, and made it so he could not see Liquid at all. And so that was a risky decision, but it's one that paid off in his ability to then, again, fly it exactly like a time trial. And that came through in the time. I mean, seeing that fastest lap of 34 seconds, which that may be realistically the upper bounds of the P72. That might be world record pace if you put a long fly in and a full tank of boost on a single lap on it. That flight style might very well be P72 world record.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we saw him splitting his G's in the back straight, where he was rolling halfway through to go from redding out to dragging the blood back down to the feet and blacking out. It was just absolutely precision flying. And again, I mean, Samtastic really impressing, actually beating Ninjetti's fastest lap pace by a few seconds, and definitely a little bit struggling with the thinner atmosphere, and you could see the usage of boost to manage the turns, but it was a very well executed performance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Samtastic did a great job, and you can see the one thing that I really liked about seeing this Snake Pit compared to Group 1 is seeing Samtastic's different way of racing, staying sideways and doing more drifting than he did more of keeping the pitch, kind of like how Shaknu was racing. So really, really enjoyed watching Samtastic, kind of everybody's different style and how they're using, boost in their own way, as I've mentioned before. But CyberFox, any last thoughts about this, Group 2 Snake Pit race?
Yeah, I mean, Tint really nailed it with Shackney blinding himself, and the fact that it would be world record pace. Obviously, we look at these leaderboards on scr.gg, but again, they're with a run up. So you're already at speed by the time you cross the start finish line to record that lap. So you sort of got to take away a few seconds of acceleration. So although we're talking about world record times and then being like 10 seconds behind world record times or 5 seconds behind world record times, they're really, really keeping up with the pace. And I think Samtastic as well, when I asked him before the show, what's your favorite track? What's your favorite location for racing? He said that Snake Pit drifting is a good time. And that was it. Like, I think he just loves the track. I think, you said he was struggling with a thinner atmosphere. I think he was just chilling. He's probably got Spotify on in the background. I think he's just got a big cheesy grin on his face. I think he's just enjoying the game for what it is, which is enjoying the flight model, which we all love to do.
Yeah, I can just imagine, some of that anime music you hear on like Instagram just racing through the I love it. Well, let's take a look at our Group 2 results here, where I feel like, hey, I think we're gonna see Shacknu at the top of the leaderboard here, but we see I believe so Shacknu, fastest lap here on Louisville, all scores 106. Literally, I believe it was a millisecond and a half under Neojet. We have the Icebreaker, fastest lap, Liquid Prime at 103, and then the Snake Pit, of course, 34 seconds. But you see Shacknu here at the bottom with 12 points, Samtastic 7 points, overtaking Liquid Prime with 6 points. Unfortunately, that Snake Pit man on first lap 0 points, and then Nickel with 2 points. Still, again, we have stage 2 and 3 in the next few weeks coming along, so there's still a lot of racing and time for these racers to practice and kind of bump themselves up in that leaderboard. So we are about to go on a quick break. I want to say a big thank you to if we can go back to the desk, I want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. We got Monster Tech, of course. We got Icon City, Toby, SCR, StarCitizen, and then our medical org QJM. So if you guys are on Twitch or if you guys are on Discord, YouTube, check out the description. There might be some discounts for some of these companies that are sponsoring these events here at ATMO Esports. So once again, thank you to Tint. Thank you, CyberFox. We're going to have a more full cast at the next event, where we're going to have Croncy at the casting desk, and then we're going to see Jacqueline join us on the analyst desk as well for stage number 2, which we're going to be racing Auroras. But when we come back, we're going to go on to seeing races for group number 3 and 4, which group number 3, we have 5 different racers, which is going to be fantastic to watch. So when we come back, don't go anywhere. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it, and we'll be back soon.
Some race for glory, Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, we race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there. Some race for glory. Some race for the thrill. But when your world goes from 0 to 100, We race to save lives. Quantum Jump Medical. Celebrating 8 years of service to the community, still completely free of charge. Offering medical rescue, emergency transportation, operational support, security, and much more. No BS, no gimmicks. We'll be there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gravity Rush here, where we're about to kick it off here with our last two groups, Group 3 and 4 here. So I'm very excited. I hope you guys had a pretty decent break. And yeah, welcome back, Tint and Cyberfox. I believe we saw two strong early groups. I feel like we already recapped enough of that, and we're going into Groups 3 and 4 right now. But let's jump right into Group 2. Into Group 3 and let the community know out there who's going to be on that one. So we have 5 racers. We're going to have Canadian Maverick, Herbie, Ordito, Shipco, and White Rice. We're going to see a mixture of those same 3 ships that we've been seeing throughout the event: the Origin M50, the Mirai Razor, and the P72 Archimedes. From what we've seen in Group 1 and Group 2, knowing that this group has 5 people, are we still going to see some dominance from some of these racers in the group? Like you guys mentioned, it's Ordito's race to lose here. Are we going to see some dominance there from Ordito, or are we going to see a little bit more of close racing overall in this group after we've seen, Group 1 and 2? And I'll kick it off. We'll kick it off and start it off with you, Cyberfox.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got quite a wide skill difference between Ordito, who is literally setting world records a few days ago, and we've got White Rice, who's signed up for this as his first official race. So
Wow.
he's been watching the race community. He's been enjoying the community making their own games within StarCitizen. And literally, this is the first competition he's joined. So he's a newbie racer. He's got 2 kids. He's got a chaotic life. And I think he knows that there's going to be some explosions, but I think he's just there to enjoy it. Whereas we've got Ordito and Shipco's out for the kill. He's wanting to prove that he's the best pilot in his org. He loves the intensity of the competition. He loves, obviously, racing with so many amazing people. But when I spoke to him, he's played in the Daymar Rally. He said he was a space trucker for life. So he's a very, very player within the game. But when he's a racer, he's just out to kill. He just wants to prove he's the best in his org.
Oh, awesome. Love to hear that about him. But man, couple kids, it sounds like my life right now. We're here casting, got crazy kids running around, but hey, man, it's all, for the show and for the community. So Tint, not to recap, we already know who you won, but how are we going to see now that we have 5 racers instead of 4, instead of 3 from the previous 2 groups? what you think is going to play out here in group number 3?
I think the chaos factor is definitely going to ramp up the difficulty for our newer racers. I think having more people in front of you, more moving objects in the field, it's all just extra stress, and it's all extra things that sort of
Yeah.
eat away at that limited pile of brain power that you have to bring to bear on the race. But I'm excited to see how the newbies handle it. I think having watched their time trials, these guys all at least have the basics down. They're all ready to roll, and we'll see.
All right. Well, I believe we're about to get ready here. So, Tint, thank you so much, man. Your analyst has been incredible today, giving us some incredible points and making sure that we're actually seeing a perspective that, from group 1, from group 2 to group 1, that knowing, like, even though people are somewhat behind, they're still racing comparable to other racers as well. So, absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. We're going to jump right into this next race, which we're going to kick it off with Lorville Outskirts for group number 3. Excited for this one. All right, Tim, we'll be right back. All right, CyberFox, we're jumping right into it, man. I'm excited for this one. We're going to see some a group of 5 racers going at it today. And everybody, I haven't seen Ordito race. I think Ordito go up against Splen in one of the XGR divisions, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that was him. But like a lot of the times you're only seeing 2 people race, so I'm excited to see the dynamic of 5 of them race. We saw that enter atmosphere, and it looked absolutely incredible. So I'm excited to see 5.
Yeah, and I think the races that he's come back for have been really interesting. He was a contender at the Black Star Underground, which I commentated with Splen and produced as well, and that was really exciting. Him and Dude 3D just kept coming back, turn after turn, lap after lap. Ordito is quite interesting because he enjoyed getting close to the top guys on Snake Pit time trials while flying on mouse and keyboard during 322. I don't know if he's upgraded to sticks or not, so he's got quite a wide variety of racing skill, and he's come head to head with Fresh 001 from time to time as well. So not just Splen, just coming up against those real top racers. His favorite track is the Snake Pit as well. So although we're starting with Lorville, we're going to get to see him warm up for his favorite track.
Well, I'm excited to dive right into it here, and here we go. We got Canadian Maverick is going to be on that top left side, Herbie in the middle, Ordito on your top right. So make sure you guys are, once we zoom in, the name tag should be staying the same. We got Ship going White Rice. We're seeing the only M50 here is going to be Canadian Maverick, and I believe I'm not sure if the M50 got fixed this patch, but I know it had a more riskier way of flying. So let's see if Canadian Maverick can take advantage of that. If it did get fixed this patch, then don't worry about it. But yeah, I'm seriously excited to see how this race goes this time around here, CyberFox. I'm excited, super excited for this.
I mean, it's great to see a full field for one. It's great to see a mix of ships for 2. It's great to have different skill sets for 3. So all of this is piling up. It looks like we got a bit of rain as well. So we got the weather to contend with on this round as well. So it might be that White Rice's first official competition is a bit of a challenging one, going up against Ordito and Shipco and Rain on the first track of his first race. We've got to shout out to him. I've got my fingers crossed for him, and yeah, hopefully he can make it through without DNFing.
Hey, well, let's see what happens here. And then remember, something that I didn't put out earlier, which I do apologize, but thanks to scr.gg, we have the Gravity Rush leaderboard in the top left, so you can kind of keep up with who is in their laps, who's in first, second, and third. So make sure you guys keep your eyes on that if you guys want to know placements or as we zoom in. But we should be able to see, I believe, other than Shipco, we should be able to see most positions on the racers today. So very excited for this group. I don't know. I feel like I want to see something happens, not a crash specifically, CyberFox, but just seeing overtake, seeing somebody that we maybe didn't, seeing Herbie take a win. I don't know, something like that. I mean, Ordito probably won't let it happen. He's already angled, ready to go. But I want to see something that's going to, make us lose our minds. That's what I want, those moments.
Yeah, Ordito and Canadian Maverick starting in about 10 seconds now. But yeah, getting primed and ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and they should be on the way.
Audito taking an early lead straight on that boost, still staying sideways. Canadian Maverick looking like he's going to take the corners downwards, pushing down. Oh, a bit of a risk there by Canadian Maverick. Audito still in the lead, nearly blacking out, coming through those canyons and round underneath the pipes. White Rice looks like he's out. An early DNF, unfortunate but expected. Audito coming up this long straight, pulling it tight through the corners, keeping his nose authority onto the TVI, so using those main thrusters. And it looks like he's got a really wide lead. It'd be interesting to see the first lap times. Herbie taking it easy, coming it nice and slow, taking it nice and wide. So there's a lot of different race styles going on here. Looks like he's staying, oh, he is inverting, he is rolling a little bit. Not quite as sideways as Audito and Canadian Maverick. Drifting around, got to get through that mail slot. Again, I can't see the chains. I can't see what I've got to avoid through this POV. So it's a bit of a gamble if you get hit by any of those metal chains coming through here. 104 by Audito, great time.
Yeah, very good times there, right on that 106 that we've seen in the past two groups. But, I mean, what you're looking at here, I mean, you see Herbie earlier fighting with Canadian Maverick on, for second and third place position, but it seems like Canadian Maverick definitely going forward and taking that lead. But look at that, a 103, Canadian Maverick crashing out of that in lap number 2, which if Herbie takes it easy, should be able to get on that second place position. Man, there's only two racers left, man, happening right now. I know Chipko and White Rice are currently also DNF here, CyberFox.
Well, there's that excitement that you wanted. Not so many overtakes, but a few DNFs. Yeah, so we've got a similar flight style as we've seen in these in the earlier groups. We got Audito doing the time trial in the snub ship, and we got Herbie just taking it easy, drifting around in a safer flying style. So it's a very interesting survival versus risk-taking approach for these two races. Is Herbie out? I think Herbie's just collided. We've just missed that. It's just Audito left on the track. Looks like Audito's on his final lap, coming down through the canyon again.
Yep, I believe that still puts Herbie in that second place spot and Canadian Maverick in that third place spot because they did finish lap number 2. Chipko and White Rice, again, Tint said it. Not many people have hopefully been racing within these weather conditions in the new, StarCitizen patch, 4.2. So, but it's tough, man. It's tough. But we should be able to see some very good racing here in the icebreaker. But love seeing that Herbie is putting, taking that second place spot, putting some points on the board. So very excited to see this next race. I felt like the second race for group number 2 was definitely a lot closer, CyberFox, because of the raining, people were more comfortable not being in rainy conditions, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of as expected. Audito taking no prisoners, coming straight up through Homeward Bound, and then ran to the start-finish line there, just to make a clean finish. Just sort of like crossing the I's and dotting the T's and drawing a line under the words that says, I have practiced and I am a racer. 34 seconds with his fastest lap. That is an insane time for this track.
Yeah, that is absolutely very fast. Comparing to the previous groups, though, I mean, you see Shaknu actually on a 34.288. No, actually, that was Snakebit. Never mind. On a 54-second lap here for no, wait, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Oh wow, that is fast. I'm over here like baffled, but hold on 1 second here. Okay, now I found it here. Yeah, so the previous groups are all under a little bit over a minute. And then
I don't know what's going on with this lap time for 34 seconds. It's just something's not quite right there.
Yeah, I'm that's why I was confused. I'm like, wait, what's going on here? I think that somebody may have hit the wrong button or something, but if that adds up, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, I think that's probably 20 seconds under the world record, so something must have gone wrong. When I said 34, I got really excited, but yeah, bringing me back down to reality. It must have been a glitch.
Yeah, I'm over here looking at him like, is this right? Like, this is not right. But here we go, going into icebreaker here. So after the first race, seeing Chipko White Rice, obviously crash initially, but I think that without the weather here, hopefully we see a nice closer race here. But yeah, I think the rain effects definitely affect a lot of people quite often. I wish we could turn that off, but let's see how Icebreaker turns out. I know this is I love hearing you Cyberfox speak about this race and the turns that they have to do. So definitely looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is a much more comfortable race, especially after Lawville with weather, as you say. So we should see most of them survive. We should see a bit more of a battle going on here than we just watched in Lawville. We should see fewer DNFs. That will change, of course, for the final race, Snake Pit, for the final track. But yeah, for this Icebreaker, Audito, again, 15 days ago, P52 Merlin put in a time of 50 seconds, top of the leaderboard, world record #1 right now on this track with 14 points on scr.gg. And for those of you who don't know, scr.gg is this platform where you can upload videos of your track times, Arena Commander PU, it doesn't matter, upload them, and then your name gets placed against all of these racers. It doesn't matter where you come. I've been 14th, 15th, 16th on Icebreaker myself. And the joy of this is you can click the camera button, the icon next to the times, and you can watch these players' time trials on. So it links directly to the recording that they made when they uploaded their time. So if you want to learn a track, if you want to practice a track, if you want to see all of the tricks of a track just as you're trying to figure it out, if you get a little bit lost like I do when I start racing a new track for the first time, you can sort of follow along, have the videos at your side. Again, scr.gg is a great resource for racing in StarCitizen.
Couldn't have said it any better there, Cyberfox. So thank you so much. And I believe race is about to start here very shortly. So yeah. So we did confirm that lap time is inaccurate, but they're going to be checking it here shortly. But I was going to say 34 seconds, man. That was going to be quick. But here we go, going right back into Icebreaker. Honestly, I'm starting to, every time I see this race, Cyberfox, I'm actually liking it more and more every single time. And that's the fact that how close to the mountain side that they have to get. They have to, make sure that they do their perfect spin in order to, to get that pitch properly the way they need it. If not, they can easily crash out, hitting the floor of the track. So I'm loving this track, honestly, more and more. I'm liking it quite a lot. So I think I'm gonna have to go back and try this one out myself.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's the first track that I learned, and I think Lawville Outskirts was the second track. And it looks like we got a time just in, so 101 seconds rather than 35 seconds. So that makes a little more sense. Still just about 10 seconds past world record pace, but not necessarily a flying lap there. So makes sense, especially considering they were up against other racers in the pack, so the lines are slightly different to time trial times. Looks like we're gonna get ready in a second. Everybody's just positioning themselves on the start-finish line.
Cyberfox, what would you consider a full grid? Would that be 8 racers, 16, 10, 12? What would you feel would be a good number to see a full grid here in Arena Commander?
So Arena Commander does have a limit. I don't know if it's 7 or 8. I think it might be 8 races
it's
for
8. It's
Arena
8,
Commander.
Yeah.
So that would be full for that. But for the PU, it's completely different. I mean, you know what it's like. You've run races with tens and tens of not only individual solo races but teams as well. And I've seen XGR do races that have like 16 to 20, but also sometimes you've got the smaller tracks. With fewer races, sometimes tend to be a little more exciting than a full pack where you just get crash after crash after crash. Just mentioning again the Black Star Underground, which I produced last year. It'd be great to do that again. We had, I can't remember how many races we had on that. Probably about 20 races, and it was a bit like a marathon. So we had them going around the oil rig at Lawville, lap after lap after lap after lap. And that was really exciting because we got to see so many different perspectives. So I think it depends on the track to say what a full grid would be. I wouldn't want too many more races than 8 on Snake Pit. But for Icebreaker, I think it could take a lot more. I think it has that breathing room, that space that availability, and because it's a figure of 8, that excitement to have a big pack cross through. I mean, you could even do like multi-ship racing, like multi-class racing, couldn't you? You could have the racers, the snubs, and then maybe somebody in some larger, more medium ships like Connies or Corsairs or something going at a slower pace just for the excitement.
No, I totally agree, and you know, like I know in Group 2 we didn't. I mean in Group 1, in Group 1 races we didn't see it as often, but I know in Group 2 we saw that crossover. But now you have 5 racers here, so you're mentioning that, Cyberfox. So you know, the race is about to start in 30 seconds, but I know we're gonna see a lot of that crossover, especially with how quickly Ordito is chewing through these tracks. But we hope to see a little bit more close racing here now that there's no bad weather whatsoever. So let's see. All right,
about to start. Ordito and Canadian Maverick are ready to go.
Right.
Sideways already, and they're off.
All right,
I'm not sure if Ordito's got the lead here. Oh, Canadian Maverick's already losing control. Lost on the first turn. Shipco coming up behind Ordito by the looks of it, coming around to the third corner, and then flipping around for Matterhorn. See, he's just a split second behind the marker in front of him, the ship in front of him. Very tidy.
Yep. Shipco doing a very great job at staying. Has to roll right here. Keep that position.
So it looks to me that Ordito's in the lead, and they're still on lap 1, so there's all to race for. Herbie's taking it nice and easy. White Rice is just pulling around, I think, just, again, finding it a little bit difficult, finding it a little bit of a struggle for his first race. I think the difference between the racers, you can see the experience level. So Shipco is rolling and pitching, and he knows where he's going, whereas White Rice is still finding his way. And that's okay for a beginner racer. You sort of, you kind of lose control of the ship if you don't know exactly where you're going, but that's okay. Oh, pulling in a little bit tight with Shipco there.
Yeah, that was so close, and I totally agree. Nope, and I totally agree with what you're saying with White Rice here. But I love seeing Herbie and Shipco are currently battling for that second and third place position, while Canadian Maverick, because he wiped out earlier or lost control, he is going to be trying to catch up and play catch up here throughout the rest of the race here.
Yeah, well done for keeping him up. Herbie doing a 360 just to make sure that he keeps control of his ship there. Again, is that pitch up strategy. Rather than drifting, he's rolling and pulling and just using those main thrusters just to ease through the checkpoints. He's not taking it too tight. I think Ordito and Canadian Maverick have got a slightly different flying style to Herbie. It looks like Ordito's cutting it really tight right through the corner of the checkpoints there as well. Coming back around to Matterhorn, he's going to... pitching down. Bit of a dolphin dive, redding out. Is he going to survive? He's held on to it. He hasn't blacked out.
Wow, that was absolutely incredible. That was so close to blacking out there or redding out, but I mean, they know where they need to push their limits here in this race. But I love seeing Shipco, who's being super consistent on his turns and just doing a great job at trying to keep that positioning. But Herbie went right back into that second place position currently right now, Cyberfox, and you know, Shipco just needs to push it a little bit more, but you can see him in his vision. Herbie right in front of him, putting in that boost there. This is actually getting super excited here, Cyberfox.
Yeah, I mean, there might be an opportunity for a pass if there's a mistake here between these two racers. I saw White Rice as well. He went off track a little bit, but the sportsman inside him made him go back round underneath the checkpoint and to just carry on with the checkpoint that he was on. These guys are getting really close, though. I love it when you can see the ship in the field of view as you're racing, coming so close as they're coming through this checkpoint. There's only 2 or 3 checkpoints left of this lap, 90 seconds left. They are going to finish this race. I can't even see him. He's gone blind.
That's actually Canadian Maverick in the M50 trying to overtake Shipco right now for that third place position. I'm not sure how far Herbie is, but that was literally Canadian Maverick trying to punch it. You can even see a shadow right above Shipco. Man, this is some close racing right now. Oh, Shipco just finished Herbie.
Shipco just took it on that last corner.
Oh, man. Oh, that was actually Herbie that was right above him. Okay. Wow, Shipco really took that.
Yeah, I was going to say Audito's hovering above, nice and relaxed. I think White Rice is either DNF'd or given up at this stage. He's just motionless, so I think the race is over.
Yep, I believe so.
Looks like.
But that was actually right there towards the end. Shipko actually took that second place spot away from her because they were super close.
Yeah, that's what we want to see. And 54 seconds for Audito for a fast lap time. Really, really impressive. Just a sub-minute is impressive on Icebreaker when you're in a race like this. And again, Audito's got a 50-second world record on this track just 15 days ago. So it's no surprise, but to be pulling this out live while he's in a race on stream in front of thousands of people against other competitors, yeah, fantastic. Yep. Really good sportsmanship, really good control of his ship, really a good showcase of skill.
Yep. And one thing I want to do real quick, shout out to all the organizations that are joining us from the racing community today as well. You know, we got Skya Racing Team. You know, we got Star Jager from, you know, who is the organization for Ninjetti. Obviously, Ricky Tiki from Skya Racing Team. We got Liquid Prime from Sanguis Luna. I think we have about 3 racers from Sanguis Luna, which is Herbie, Jellyhead Made, and then we got Liquid Prime. We got Nickel JG from Soul Provision, Samtastic from Legacy Fleet, Canadian Mavericks from Red Legion, and then Orditos from Black Star Racing, and then White Rice is from Disasterx. So, and then Slum is the unnamed. So we got some incredible orgs. Thank you guys for joining us for the first inaugural season of Gravity Rush. Love seeing you guys racing out there, regardless of whether you're the top racer. Doesn't matter. You guys are definitely way better than a lot of, you know, you guys are taking the chance, and that's all that matters. And I think that's what we love to see here, CyberFox.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about orgs and org competitions and orgs growing is that they tend to have lots of different playstyles, right? So some are cargo runners, some like to do some PvP, some do security at events like this, others like some FPS and ground combat, and few of them, very few orgs have a racing division. It's a small and growing community, and you've obviously got some racing first orgs as well, like sort of ATMO Esports is a racing first community, an XGR racing community, an Anzia racing community. But apart from those communities, the orgs themselves, yeah, they don't really take racing as seriously as they do other modes of the game. And I think that's because it's just so damn hard. It's one of those things that takes a lot of time, a lot of practice, a lot of effort, a lot of crashing. And yeah, they just don't really provide a lot of training and support for new players who are playing StarCitizen to get into racing. So that's why it's few and far between, and lush to see all of these different orgs who do contribute to the racing community showing up here today and showing that broad mix of orgs that do showcase these skills.
Very, very well said. And here we go into one of my favorite visually pleasing tracks of the day, which is the Snake Pit. You know, I'm ready to roll. I hope you are too, CyberFox, but I cannot wait to see what kind of lap times we see from these racers today. Because I already know I've been seeing, you know, the zooms from Ordito, honestly, I've been very surprised with how Herbie's been racing. I know he's been putting a lot of time, you know, Herbie, the entire half of the year, CyberFox, is Daemon Rally, System 7. Now we get to do some ship racing, and people like Sanji Sama, you know, Herbie, they love just being a part of every single thing in the community. Ricky Tiki, Canadian Maverick, they try to do as much, and these are the folks that I want to always show some love to, because they seriously take whatever's going on in the community and they want to do all of it because of this is what they love to do. So I just love that from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, these unique personalities, we've also got unique flying styles. We've got Canadian and Maverick in his M50, who's going to be trying to cut it as close as possible, build up as much speed so he doesn't lose control, because again, the M50 is kind of a bit wild. And then we've got the Razors, and they're going to be drifting around rather than trying to cut. And then we've got the Snub Ships, which are going to be going for those time trial lines. So we've got 3 different race styles on show today for the Snake Pit, with about 30 seconds before we kick off.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys get some hype in the channel for your favorite racer that's currently on, whether it's Canadian Maverick, Herbie, or Dito, Shipko. or White Rice, make sure you show him some love. But the race is about to start here in about 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, I just wanted to do that for fun.
Canadian Maverick really quick off the line, as well as Audito. Canadian's drifting. Oh, he nearly missed, really nearly colliding with those razors going sideways. Nearly missed the checkpoint, going a little bit out of control. I think he's lost it. I think he's missed a checkpoint. He's had to come back around. Yeah, so he's going to be behind for the rest of this race. Unfortunate for him to start off like this. Don't know what's happening with Shipko's POV. He might be out already, landing on one of those viewpoints to just take it in. I think he's made a quick mistake as well, maybe tried to avoid a collision. Audito doing a lap time of 35 seconds. I hope that 35 is correct this time. It looks like it might be. Pulling him really tight around these chicanes and through these canyons. Again, Herbie sideways, drifting, whereas Audito is rolling and pulling up. So 2 different flying styles, 2 people out already, and just the 3 people left standing in this group.
Yeah, look at Canadian Maverick right now, though. He's tearing up the track, trying to make up that lost time, especially when he missed that checkpoint. So he still has some time, though. Herbie looks like Herbie's more taking his time, trying to do those side drift, but also using his pitch in order to be able to control the ship properly. Let's see what happens here, because Canadian Maverick can still come from the back and possibly even pass, Herbie here. But Audito, I don't think that this guy is slowing down any time soon with these 34-second laps right now.
No, Audito's just giving us a masterclass, really. You can see, I don't know if he's flying mouse and keyboard, actually. You can see that virtual joystick as he crosses the finishing line there, pulling up the crosshairs. Canadian Maverick, did he just collide? I think he's collided. So unfortunately, he won't be catching up. Herbie's just got to keep it low and steady to get some points on the board. Just drifting around nice and easy, moving sideways. Doesn't look like he's using much head tracking. Looks like he's just relying on the straightforward vision, but still going slightly sideways and just taking it easy. Looks like he's keeping it quite low as well, not going to the height limits of these checkpoints, but yeah, keeping his nose on target and lining up corner after corner. So I think he's practiced this track. He knows which corner is coming next as well, because every single turn he takes is just super smooth.
Yeah, not a bad. And just to kind of piggyback off of you, we had Audito. He has actually using Hosa, so hand on stick, and then you got Herbie actually using stick and keyboard. So and then you have other folks using, dual sticks with pedals and things like that. But, man, an incredible race here. Canadian Maverick still going to put some points on the board, though, in that third-place position. And then you're going to have White Rice and Shipko DNF. But, hey, honestly, man, a lot of props to White Rice and Shipko for coming in, participating, regardless of what's going on. Remember, we still have, stage 2 and 3. So they can make up that time. They can make up those points if they want to definitely move on up into the semifinals and compete. Cyberfox.
Yeah, and everybody has their biggest racing fails. So I spoke about this. I spoke about this to the racers before this event. So I just asked them. Everybody has to learn. Everybody has to come from somewhere. What are your biggest fails in your racing history? Samtastic said that crashing out in the Louisville oil rig race last year was his biggest fail. Audito said, my cat made me crash during an XGR anniversary race. Shipko got lost during the Daymar rally. I think I mentioned this before, for 20 minutes. And Jellyhead Maid said that he crashed turn 1 in the last lap in the Nino Cup at Louisville Outskirts while in first place. So everybody does have these upsets, and it's just part of the process, isn't it, really? It's part of the PU, it's part of the game. It's just enjoying the fact that you're flying a ship. There are consequences, and you can learn and you can come back for the next one.
Yep. Well, let's take it back to the desk with Tint, and let's see, Tint's thoughts about this group number 3, and then kind of move on to our last group. All right, there we go. Tint, welcome back. Appreciate, you hanging in there for these last 3 races, but that was obviously more interesting. Like you guys already mentioned, it's Audito's race to lose, masterclass perfection across all 3 races. Tint, give us your thoughts on race number 1 for group number 3, which was Louisville Outskirts.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Ordito flying what I would definitely class as, I mean, it's not quite time trial lines, but it's darn close, and it showed through with him shaving 5 seconds off of the closest competitor we've had so far today on this track, P72. Just an absolutely beautiful performance. I had my eye on Maverick early in the race because I'd said at the beginning I was curious to see how the switch over to the M50 was going to affect him, and he came in with a plan. And I think the adrenaline probably got the better of him, and I saw that plan fall apart in real time on about turn 3, where he stopped taking the turns like he was in an M50, and he started taking the turns like he was in a 350, and suddenly the M50 was not behaving.
Yeah.
And that, I think, ultimately cost him a huge amount of time that he would have probably loved to have back from his practice speeds. Herbie, by contrast, just pushing the super conservative, super safe lines.
Yep.
And this is, I think, kind of trademark Herbie of just, let's find a thing I can always do. Let's find it consistently, and then let's just do it every time. 6 months of practice, and just into every race. I did not quite catch what happened with Shipko and White Rice, but definitely both crashed early on. Hopefully not into each other, although it could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, props to them for coming in and participating regardless. We really appreciate it. Still makes, having the grid full super interesting. But Canadian Maverick, even though still came in that third place spot in lower outskirts, a 115 lap, and then Herbie, like you mentioned, super conservative at that 117, and then Ordito in the fastest lap at that 101, which I think is going to be the fastest lap for the day so far on Lowerville outskirts. But any last thoughts there, Cyberfox, for Group 3 Lowerville outskirts on race number 1?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that ship choice does make a difference. If you fly with something that you're comfortable with, then it gives you a bit more confidence. But if you forget because you're a little bit too comfortable that the ship can misbehave, then yeah, it does set you back a bit. Especially the M50, it's a tough ship to love because it really bites you back. And I think a lot of races here today. Again, we're talking about veterans versus new racers, and I think there's a lot to learn about not only the ships but the tracks as well. And there's a lot of tips that new racers can pick up. The
Yep.
first is really just competing with your own times. So I think with the I can't remember who it was who crashed out a little bit early. Won't be looking at the fact that he crashed out compared to the other races. He'll just look at the last time he raced that track and what went wrong and self-analyzing. And I think a lot of self-analysis goes into practicing for these racing tracks. Another thing that beginners can do, apart from looking at the videos on scr.gg, like I mentioned before, is we got Jackadin's podcast and his live vlog and streaming. So he's got some videos on racing, and then you can join an org as well. So you can get involved, you can ask questions, you
Yep.
can stay hungry for it, and you can sort of pick up and learn things from the pros as you go along. As long as you're joining in, it doesn't really matter if the ship does bite you, because you're only competing against yourself at the end of the day.
Nope. All very good points. Love to hear that. Like, hey, whether you're a beginner or not, and honestly, the community is super friendly no matter what. Even if you jump in tournament chat and be like, hey guys, can we jump on a race? There's always people willing to jump on and jump into a AC with you and kind of give you some points and tell you what you're doing wrong and continue to push that forward. But jumping into icebreaker here, race 2, we actually had everybody, at least everybody complete a couple laps here. But just to kind of highlight really quickly, you got Canadian Maverick at 110 of a best lap. You had Herbie at 113, and then Shipco at 105, or Dito at a 54 on icebreaker. So, Tint, throwing it right back to you, man. Icebreaker here for group number 3 during this race. What were your thoughts and what were your highlights here?
But I mean, again, Ordito just absolutely running those super precise time trial style lines. This one we saw again Canadians struggling with the arrow on the M50 right off the line. That tumble that he got into, to me, it looked very typical of the aerodynamic issues that the M50 has right now, where if you turn off axis, you can wind up sending the ship into a flat spin. And he was absolutely pushing hard to try and catch up. And I'm a little bummed that we didn't get to catch his crash on the last lap, because he was making ground on
Yeah,
Herbie pretty
was.
reliably through lap two. So it definitely, he had the skills to push the M50 for that track, but just not quite catching up after that initial aero slip. Shipko also really showed up on this one, and I think watching his flying, it's I think he's probably not spent as much time in the P72 specifically. Some of the decisions, some of the positioning were not quite where I would want to see them for a P72 pilot. They're more, razor appropriate choices, but he
Yeah.
definitely knew the track. He was racing well. And I think, like, definitely with him getting a couple weeks to practice before jumping into another round, he might be able to really push up and get some real progress.
To get to your point there, Tint, is that we actually had Shipko right at the last minute because him and Herbie was like right above him, and Shipko
Mhm.
actually took that second place spot. So the potential is there 100%. So like as we get to the next stage, which by the way, the next stage of races are all going to be Auroras. They're not going to be the ship that you qualified with. They're all going to be Aurora. So there's going to be what do you call it? An even playing ground, I would say. So once they get those practices, I feel like there's anybody. It could be anybody's race in these groups at that point. Obviously, experience matters, but just get their practice in, and you should be doing just fine. Back to you, Cyberfox. Any last thoughts on the icebreaker? Of course.
Yeah, I mean that last second pass it just goes to show that they are fighting down to the last second. So very exciting to see. And again, it's one of those tracks that a lot of different ships were flying, and a lot of different flying styles were on showcase there. So it was just an interesting one to watch. And me as a non-pro racer, I've made exactly the same mistakes that were seen here. I've lost control of my M50. I've gotten lost and frustrated because I've missed the checkpoint and had to go back around. So it's all things that they're very familiar to me when I see the icebreaker races.
Yeah. No, I love to see that everybody was able to finish that one. Unlike, the next race that we're about to watch here is going to be the Snake Pit. But the Snake Pit, obviously, we saw two finishes there where we saw Ordito and Herbie. And then obviously, Canadian Maverick was able to get past that second lap. But going right back to you, Tin, on the Snake Pit. Any thoughts, concerns on your analysis about this matchup, even though we saw three, well, not two DNFs plus Canadian Maverick almost completing the race there.
Yeah, and I think probably we see more nerves coming out of Canadian with having missed that initial checkpoint, and that just throwing off his rhythm for the rest of the race. Because it's clear from the way he's flying that he has practiced the track, he knows where he should be going. But once you have a slip like that, it's really hard to recover. And I mean, Ordito, I think the Snake Pit has always been a specialty of his, and it's very clear this is a place he lives. He spends a lot of time here. And as we've talked about with the previous groups, it's sort of a case where the faster you go, the more you can push the corners, the more the boost is there when you need it. And so, I'm not surprised that he's the one monstering out what would be a competitive, time trial entry on a regular racing lap. Herbie, by contrast, again, flying a very undramatic, it almost kind of felt slow to watch when we were pushed in on Herbie, but it isn't. It's in the same band as we saw it in Ninjetti in round one. It's in that sort of high 40s lap time, super consistent, super repeatable, obviously very safe, and yet not slow enough that it's a concern that you're going to get lapped by anybody.
All right. Well, I mean, so far we have our totals. Let's go take a look at group number 3 points total here. Yeah, Tint, I totally agree. There, like you can see, you can see when people are really owning up to these tracks or what their favorites are. But yeah, that was still a masterclass, especially at that 33-second lap here. What you're seeing for group 3, the Snake Pit, Lorville outskirts, and that is going to be an entire probably about 8 millimeters of a sec, or eight not millimeters, milliseconds, about 8 milliseconds, right under Shacknew's time at 34 seconds. For Ordito on that snake pit lap. So point system here, Ordito in first with 12 points in group number 3. Herbie with 8, Canadian Maverick with 5, Shipko with 3, and then White Rice with 0. And then for Lowerville Outskirts, your fastest lap in group 3 is going to be 101, and then Icebreaker is going to be that 54 seconds. So even though we're seeing a lot of those timings, they're still pretty close to some of the other racers that are pretty much like, really doing well in their groups. Any thoughts or any other mentions from you guys on group number 3 before we move on to group number 4?
I mean, just look at those fastest laps by Audito. First on the Lawville, then on Icebreaker, then on Snake Pit. He's going to be a name that we get to see throughout this this tournament. I feel he's just going to come all the way from start through to the end.
And I think to touch back on something that you mentioned earlier, when we go into these Aurora-driven rounds, the Aurora flying so much more like the Razor may provide an interesting opportunity for the Razor pilots to mix it up, where their practice in the Razor as a ship leading up to this is more relevant and more applicable. So we may see some switch-ups there.
That makes some very good sense. That makes some very good sense there. Yeah, go ahead, CyberFox.
I was just gonna say it's funny seeing the mix of ships. It's like mixing your cereal, so you get like the crunch, and then you get something soft, and then do you know what I mean? It's you see all these different flying styles. Whereas when the Aurora comes in, it's going to be everybody's going to be drifting, everybody's going to be fighting the ship, everybody's going to be like boosting and go, come on, because it's not a very fast ship, but it's a great ship for a beginner. So it's going to change the flying style, and I'm looking forward to seeing that group and that round coming up in 2 weeks. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have our next group ready to go. Let's go ahead and head on over. Tint, we'll be right back with you to analyze our last and final group of the day. Appreciate it. All right, here we go. We have this is going to be an interesting group here. So let's talk about this really quickly. CyberFox, we got to remind everybody in chat, we got Henchman 0, Jellyhead Made, we got Slum, and then we got Splen. So I'm very, very excited to see this group. We're going to have a race of 4, but we're going to be super excited to see how this group turns out. And then, of course, we're going to be kicking it off with Lowerville Outskirts as our first track.
Yeah, I mean, I would be wrong to say that this is the race that we've all been looking forward to, because honestly, it's been great to see the mix of racers throughout. We've had names throughout, but of course, keeping Splen until the final race versus Jellyhead Made, it's going to be quite a tight race. Jellyhead Made has, I'm just repeating myself here from earlier on in the stream, he's got the second fastest lap time record on the Snake Pit, the third on Icebreaker, and the second on Lawville Outskirts. So he's been practicing like Audito has been. And I know that Splen was one of the last people to put in time trial time for Old Vandervoort to get on the top of the leaderboard just to register for the race, just to be available to race, right? I think he's one of those people who wants to be dominant, and he wants to prove his dominance. So right up to the last minute, 43 seconds, so a second ahead of the second place finisher on the qualifier race. So yeah, seeing Splen and Jellyhead Made go head to head is going to be very interesting today.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. I know, Splen, I think he had some issue with, I believe it was his shoulder. So, to see him back, it's funny because he was one of the first people he was supposed to cast with us, be on the analyst desk with us at Enter Atmosphere. But, just things happen, but I know he had, from racing hard, his shoulder, but now he's back. So very excited to see. I've heard so much about Jellyhead Made as well. So I know this is going to be a very fun and interesting race today. But I don't want to, take the limelight out of Henchman 0 and Slum, because I know that we've had a few DM exchanges and people were definitely excited to race and ready to go. So just want to see how this group stands out and if there's going to be anybody who's going to steal the limelight during this race. So very excited to see that.
Yeah, I think Henchman 0 is more of a chill racer like Speedweed. Got 60 seconds to race start. And Henchman 0 kind of likes to listen to music, plays solo, does a bit of smuggling in game on his own as well, and prefers Lawville Outskirts. So we're going to be warming up on his preferential track to begin with. But yeah, he's more of a relaxed racer. Slum, I don't know so much about. I know that this is his first ship race series outside of racing IRL, so he tends
Oh,
to get
cool.
involved in competitions. But yeah, excited to be here. I think he kicked himself for not entering System 7. He said, so it's going to be very interesting to see him. Essentially, just what he brings to the competition. It's going to see what he brings to the race.
Oh, well, I mean, I always love seeing people, that race in real life really wanting to try something different in Star Citizen, and we're about to race though. So in 3, 2, 1, race is off. Here we go. Last group of the day here.
Oh, Jellyhead has not made it off the line. That's a bit of a slow start. Slum looks like he's following just behind Splen. Splen's in top place at the moment. Coming up to the drop. Drifting around that corner, making it quite wide. Jellyhead and Splen, I think, are in the lead. Yeah, just coming under pressure and moving on to the Skyway.
Yep,
Splen redding out, showing his dominance.
Yeah, I saw that how Splen took a wider turn than Jellyhead. He's taking a sharper inside of the checkpoint. So definitely crazy to see these different styles because, I think that's going to give Splen some better momentum there. And look how fast he's going. Still very close. First place Splen, second place Jellyhead, and then you got a Henchman Zero and Slum following right behind.
Yeah, and Splen's up on Homeward Bound now, but when he went through brake check, he almost hit some of the drop-down chains again. On the M50, you got to keep it fast, though, to keep control. So it's no surprise that Splen is just pushing it to its limits. Jellyhead a little bit behind him, 113 versus 109. He's in a lighter ship, but he's got less boost, so he's got a lot of work cut out for him. He's taking the corners a lot tighter, trying to make the course a little bit shorter as he comes through the drop and goes to under pressure and under the pipes. You can see Splen in his vision, but has he got enough boost to catch up? We'll find out.
I mean, for what I can see, he should be able to use boost, but I feel like he wants to maintain the distance of where he's at right now, and there you go, using a little bit of it right now to kind of get forward. But man, there's definitely love seeing that he's right behind him. But here we go, Jellyhead apparently taking that first position right now, using that boost earlier, and Splen right behind them, and they're very tight and close together right now, CyberFox.
Yeah, was that a very close overtake? Looks incredible. I think what Jellyhead has done is he's just kept the track shorter. Splen taking it wider, and Jellyhead just cutting every corner as small as he can, just making the track shorter and shorter as he goes along. I hope he can hold on to that. He's got to be careful not to push it too hard, of course. And Splen's got a battle now because obviously the M50 is a little bit less stable than the P72.
Yeah, I feel like that less stable when it comes to the high-level racing right now is probably what is being, because I when I told you I saw him taking a more wider of an angle, like here, boom, like normally Jellyhead is so sharp, and oh no, almost blacked out there.
Oh, he nearly lost it there. I can't believe he stayed on target there.
Oh man, that's that muscle memory, just making sure that he stays on track. Wow, that was super close.
So Slum is just taking it easy. It looks like he's drifting around these corners just on his third lap. So he's just started the third lap, whereas Splen and Jellyhead are looking to finish the race. Jellyhead crossing the line 1 minute and 3, and Splen just 2 corners behind him, 2 checkpoints behind him, I should say, rather than corners, coming in at 109. Slum just taking it easy. Again, like I said, just get those points on the board. All you've got to do is just give yourself a lot of space. Try not to black out. Try not to lose control of your ship. Oh, no!
Oh,
He's lost it. Will he survive? I can't even tell what's going on. Oh, he's alive!
He's alive. I love it.
He's back in the race. That's fantastic. So where is he? Is he on Skyway? "70 seconds to complete the race. I think he'll be fine. I think he's on brake check coming around to Homeward Bound. So going through those letterboxes. Yeah, coming around to Homeward Bound now. What a recovery.
There we go. Man, that was definitely something to see. That was actually scary. You got blacked out for at least like a good, what, 10 seconds probably?
Yeah.
You know, like that was pretty insane. Here we go. There should be the finish.
Oh, he's going to do it again through the
Yep, he
finish
finished.
line, and he's
He
completed the race
finished.
blind. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
goodness. That was absolutely incredible. Slum doing a
Sorry
great
if
job
I
here.
yeah, sorry if I got a little bit loud there, but my gosh, saving the best till last. So we got a
No,
real
that was
showcase
fun.
of skill from Splen and Jellyhead made there, but yeah, I just Slum pulling it in. I think any other corners on that track, he took the two highest corners to black out on. So I think he's lucky to survive there. Really do.
Yeah, look at the fastest lap here. Jelly had 103, 109 from Splen. Yeah, Jelly had just did a great job at just keeping composed and, you know, just, man, just staying on, you know, within his lines and able to, you know, catch up to Splen. So very, very good job. But hey, I'm not gonna lie, man. Seeing Slum black out like 3 times for like 10 seconds and still staying in the race, pretty impressive. Can't complain.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jelly had made a key strategy for time trial runs. I asked him again, interviewing the racers before the race, is boost and go forward. So you know he's got a very simple strategy, and it must work when you come up against a veteran like Splen, because I couldn't keep a straight head. I couldn't keep my nerves calm if I was racing against Splen. So for him to overtake and keep that lead and increase that lead is really, really impressive at this stage of the race.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, going into Icebreaker, what do you feel that Splen may need to improve in order to, you know, of course, like Jelly, in order to kind of like compete with Jellyhead there, because I feel like if you know, I not saying that obviously Splen's an incredible racer, not saying that it was sloppy or anything, but what you know, these are like I think there adjustments need to be made like you mentioned, instead of taking the, you know, a track in a wider way, as Jellyhead has taken more of a sharper turn, which allowed him to kind of, you know, take that lead in this first race. So what adjustments do you think that Splen's going to have to make going into Icebreaker in order to kind of, you know, I guess counteract where, you know, Jellyhead is using the P72 where, you know, he's not going to be blacking out as much as Splen because,
Mm.
you know, the M50 is a little bit more riskier.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that Splen does need to keep the turns as tight and as short as possible. I think we're going to see some funny turns in this race. I'm sort of predicting that we're going to get some down pitch turns from the M50 instead of roll pitch turns like we're going to get in the P72. And again, if Jellyhead Made continues with these sorts of time trial lines, just going through the corner, cutting sharp, and then aiming at the next checkpoint, it might be hard for Splen to keep up. But the long term race is really what matters here. If Jellyhead Made is pushing and pushing and pushing, it might be that he has a little bit of an upset. Whereas if Splen is comfortable with what he's doing, he might just be racking up the points, taking it easy. I know he's not taking it easy, but do you know what I mean? Just not pushing himself too hard in order to have that consistency. So I know that Splen likes to practice the icebreaker at night because of his icebreaker comment as well. And yeah, the inversions, the four rolls of this track, I think are really going to come into play here. I think it'd be interesting to see what Henchman Zero does and what Slum do as well on this track, because I think the traditional approach is going to be laid out by the M50 and the P72 by Jelly Headman and Splen. But these newer racers, these newer names, Henchman Zero and Slum, it'd be interesting to see what lines they take, especially when they see the other two like taking the lead and building that leadership economy, building that gap.
Yep, that I think that's good. I think that's perfect explanation there. And here we go. We're going into Icebreaker, the second to final race of the day. Again, if you're in chat, you know, cheering for a certain racer, make sure you let them know in chat. Make sure you show some love. You know, people over here trying to gamble in the chat. But you know, one thing I do miss, Cyberfox, man, I wish I would have seen the Peregrine there. To be honest, the ship is to me like love seeing how that ship looks. I know it's probably not viable because it's a little bit more wider. You know, you will probably clip it to things, but would love to see, you know, those different ships in the future. Hopefully it's made viable because Obviously, you see the M50, you see the P72 Merlin, and you see the Razor. What they have in common is that they're very small, nimble, very fun to race with, and just having a larger ship is just not, when when you want to take those tight turns and stuff like that is just tough. So
Yeah, I think the the different flying style, we've got 60 seconds left to the race, but the different flying style of the Sabre Peregrine, you're right, it's kind of big and bulky and it doesn't have much nose authority as far as I recall. It's a little bit, it takes a bit more of a bang, but yeah, against these snub ships, it's always going to be in terms of the racer's mindset. If they want to get ahead, they want the fastest ship possible. The Peregrine is new to the scene. It's got a large profile, but it is predictable. It is fun to fly and it is sharp. So, if you're starting out racing, don't rule it out. It's a fun ship to fly and it's not going to eat you up like the M50 will.
Well, race is about to start here shortly, but yeah, I totally agree there with the Peregrine. I think that was the one that I actually started using recently when I was going through these tracks. But yeah, all right, here we go. Icebreaker is about to go underway, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get some cheers in the chat. In 3, 2, 1, boost. Here we go.
Jellyhead making an early start again. I think Splen is riding out exactly as I said, rolling and doing a bit of a spin, so that he's pitching down, using the ship differently to the way that the P72 is being used. He is behind, but he's pitching down around Matterhorn so that he can pitch up and counteract the G's as he goes through the next checkpoint.
Lord.
Really exciting to watch. Jellyhead just taking it easy. He's out in the lead, pitch and rolling. Slums had a DNF, I think, unfortunate. But Splen again pushing it to the limit. I feel like singing the Top Gun song at the moment. Splen's blacked out. Oh no, what's gonna happen? He's still alive. Yeah,
Yep,
that was
still
very
alive.
fortunate happening on that corner again. Yeah, Jellyhead looks like he's coming around to the dive.
No, I was going to say there's been about 3 different position changes just as soon as Splen blacked out, and probably had to slow down in case he doesn't crash out. So, man, that is some very risky flying there, Cyberfox.
Yeah, Jellyhead is taking it right to the limits of the checkpoint as well. So rolling and trying to cut through the corners. And Splen is taking it to the limits of the ship rather than track. So Jellyhead rolling and pitching and pulling up from the dive and going through to Matterhorn, taking it close to the edge of the sorry, that wasn't Matterhorn, just through to the edge of the cliff. But yeah, it looks like it's easier to cut these tracks tight with the snub fighter because the wings aren't so big. It'd be interesting to see if Splen survives this the way he's pushing. All he has to do is survive to get points on the board.
Yep, that's all they have to do. I mean, they already got some points. It's all about the lead changes right now. So
he's blacked out again.
Blacked out again. But I think Jellyhead made.
Yeah, I was going to say I think this is going to make some choice impact on our next round, really, because if these races keep blacking out, they might make a different ship choice in the next round.
Yeah, I see the complete different style of how Splen is trying to race, right? While they keep the pitch, or the nose of that P72 on where they're trying to go, like Splendid just keeps that same angle and just use those G's to try to get through the track, and that's what it just has that blackout. But man, that is insane.
Yeah, he was just boosting right through that corner as well, just pushing the ship right to its limits and just holding that boost for as long as possible. Jellyhead has got quite a comfortable lead here, using that leadership economy, but still cutting it tight. I think it's a really interesting race. I think we've seen, a little bit of an upset, but again, Splen blacking out. What is this, the 3rd or 4th time? He's shaking his head. I think he's acknowledging. I think he knows what's going on. Jellyhead finishing the race, and Splen still pushing it to the limit. What a fantastic and fun race to watch. Definitely one for spectators to enjoy.
Going upside down here, and I love seeing it. Unfortunately for Slum and Henchman, DNF on that first round. It's not going to land him any points, unfortunately. But still, again, remember one thing is that maybe some of these initial tracks for this stage may not be the best for some of these racers. Maybe when we go to the when we go to group stage 2 in next 2 weeks. Maybe that's going to be some of these other racers, best races, etc., to hopefully land some points on the board and kind of move forward to that semifinals, which I believe we're going to see about 12 racers move forward to that. So that's going to be fun to watch overall, Cyberfox.
Yeah, I think you're right, and yeah, I've just been corrected because the ship that they've chosen is the ship that they're going to be stuck with for the semifinals and finals for the whole event. So it might be, as you're saying, that the different races coming up might be more suitable for the different ships. We haven't seen any collisions from the snub fighters so much. We haven't seen any like ship to ship collisions. So the advantage and the disadvantage between the ships of being able to be knocked about is really playing to those snub fighters' advantage there, because they're just not being knocked at all. And what is this, 8 seconds ahead on the fastest lap between Jellyhead, Maid, and Splen? I didn't think I'd see the day, to be honest.
Hey, maybe the sleeper is just getting comfortable out there in the meantime, So that's all I'm gonna say, because I've never seen somebody that practices hard and is trying to get that going. So very excited to see. Snake Pit is coming up next. Again, this one is going to go extremely fast. And believe it or not, man, again, a lot of the top racers are just so, like, especially when they're racing against each other, very still close on their laps, which is pretty stunning. Like Ordito, 54 seconds on Icebreaker. You have I believe Jellyhead mean 54 seconds on Icebreaker as well. And then when you go back to like group 2, you have Shaknu 54 seconds on Icebreaker. So, and then like Neojet 59. So you're starting to see, and again, not to say that the other people are slow, but you're just seeing that trend of like, where you're seeing the top racers of where you kind of need to be, especially when you're racing with other people.
Yeah, and it's good to see that the consistent times across the different groups as well, right? Because it just goes to show that these races are well practiced. It's not that they're further ahead than the other people in their group. They're actually matching the fastest racers in the other groups as well. The Snake Pit is going to be an interesting one for the M50, because this is the track that the Dolphin Dive, invented by Shaknu, was made for. So that's the one where you pitch in to pull positive, then pitch down to counteract. So I think we're going to see a lot of that from Splen, whereas the snub fighters, they're going to be rolling. They're going to be going 360 over, upside down, all over the place. So it's going to be 2 different racing styles. Be interesting to see if Henchman does any and Slum do any drifts through this in the razors. So again, it's the crunchy cereal. It's the mix of the ships. It's the mix of the races. It's the mix of the styles coming up. That's going to be interesting here.
It's definitely going to be good here. So again, if you're in chat and you're racing here, guys, let's give some love. And I'm actually very excited to see Splen on this one, because I haven't seen Splen take like when I've seen the other racers race, Splen has it. I feel like it's his own unique spin to racing. His line is not the same as anybody else's that I've seen, and I love seeing the way he's racing. I mean, I am not. I still don't understand how his blackout still hasn't killed him, but I mean, still very, very fun to watch. And here he goes, just saluting or swiping the race helmet on stream, probably listening to us. But yeah, this one's going to be
just wiping the
here.
Sweat off his brow. That's what I'd be doing, because I'm sweating. I'm doing exactly the same in real life. But yeah, it's interesting you say that he's got his own lines, because he spends most of his time on stream, literally live in front of his audience on Twitch, making his own lines. And his advice to a great time trial run when I interviewed him, 30 seconds left, when I interviewed him, was wait longer than you think you should before checking other people's and other pros' race lines for advice. Trust your instincts. So he's gotten to that veteran level where he can feel out a ship and feel out a track and just intuitively know what's right and what's wrong and what's working and what's not, and just work against himself before then he goes to compare. So yeah, it's very good. 5 seconds to start. Very good to see that he invents his own lines for these tracks.
Well, let's see how he invents here in the Snake Pit as we start the race here. And boom, there it goes, very close to each other. Woo, that was close.
Jellyhead is just touching Splen there. That was really, really close. They're right neck and neck off of each other. I can't see who's come out in front. I don't know if it's Jellyhead Maid. I don't know if it's Splen.
They're, I think from what I can see up top, they're still fighting for this position right now. But I think Hedgeman Zero did crash out. He did hit the floor on that, I believe,
He's
second
pushing it
turn.
to the limit.
Oh, man, this is going quickly. Look at Splen taking that turn there and zooming through, using that boost as much as possible to go through this next loop. Here, next hairpin. Yo, this is going to be tight right now. Jelly Meathead still in first position here, but not too far away. Splen's right behind, so any little mistakes, Splen will be able to take this one and kind of hopefully even up the score, because Splen's been taking second places quite often today. So love to see a little bit competition happen here.
Here's this dolphin dive. Oh, he's just collided. Oh, an upset in the final race of the group. What a shame. We've got to see Jellyhead Maid to make it all the way through now to the finish line. Splen was keeping up, though. That was the interesting thing. He was keeping up with the snub ship. 35 seconds.
That's tough, man. I feel like that was a commentator's curse right there. I should have never said anything. My bad. I'm so sorry.
He's pushing it, though. 35 seconds in a snub ship for Snake Pit on a live race, and Splen was keeping up in an M50, blacking out as he was going around corners. Really interesting to see. Jellyhead Maid probably, I don't know if he knows that Splen is out. It looks like he's still keeping to the time trial line. He's still pushing the boost so that the character's widening out a little bit and finishing in 34 seconds. So that's our final race today for the final Group 4.
I mean, that still lends Splen some points no matter what, but man, maybe that's why he was sweating, is because of the track. You know, because of the track, Cyberfox, that's why he was sweating, because this track, he just got a little bit of a clip, but it's scary how, you know, Jellyhead Maid was literally so close to the top of those cranes and just going through the checkpoints so smoothly, man. So, but let's take it back to the desk. We want to hear more about Tint. This was the last group of the day. This was actually some incredible racing. Shout out to every single racer today. Seriously, thank you every single person who came out to race, who signed up, all right? Really appreciate every single one of you. I hope, you know, this experience will only get you to want to race further and more and get even further, you know, more competitive. So let's get back over to Tint and get his thoughts on this last group. Wow. Tint, a lot of blackouts, man. Oh, man. Yeah, that was pretty crazy, man. Just you know, first race. Let's start with Lorville Outskirts, man. Give us your thoughts on that one first, and let's kick it off.
So I mean, I think we see the P72 definitely is the clear winner with the current state of the game on these thicker ATMO tracks.
Yeah.
And so Splen obviously pushing the M50 within an inch of its life, trying to keep up here. But Jelly ultimately able to just take corners tighter, take advantage of the better aero performance of the P72. We saw that beautiful overtake on the hairpin at the end of the back straight, showing it off there. I also was keeping an eye on that first race on our Razor pilots. And I think Slum in particular, he strikes me as he's really confident on his controls, but I think we're seeing a little bit of a game knowledge gap. When I see somebody coming into an event like this with guns on their Razor, that's an immediate flag to me of like, oh, we got to get this guy some literature, some videos. We got to get him trained up on how StarCitizen handles these things. So I'm very curious to see if he can kind of build on the skills he's clearly already got by incorporating some new knowledge going into future races.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, it's yeah, seeing I mean, we still got some. Wait, I didn't even notice actually. I think I forgot. Did we get rain this Lord Oscars? We didn't, right?
We did not. It was
we
clear.
didn't. Okay, I was like I was like, wait, did I? Yeah, so I guess the first race we didn't get it, and then the two races, and then we didn't get it on this one. But yeah, seeing like those multiple blackouts and seeing how that they still know exactly where they need to go without even being blacked out for 10 seconds is pretty freaking impressive, because that would probably be way off the track somewhere else. So Cyberfox, any quick thoughts on Lorville Outskirts for this last group here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Tint said it all, and just going back to Slum for a minute, he he really enjoys StarCitizen. Again, it's his first ship race series outside of Arena Commander. I know we're in Arena Commander, but I think just like in terms of competition, right? He loves racing, and he's kicked. I said he kicked himself for not joining System 7, so I think he's going to be pleased with himself no matter his performance. And
Yeah.
what I'm reading from his interview questions and answers is that he's been working with his org to do in-game events, working with his org to do all of the new releases, to the patch updates. So I think, you know, he's new to the game. He is learning little tips like taking weapons off his ship. But that's kind of where we all start, isn't it? This is where we all come from, and it's having people to guide us. And I just love the fact that he's out here having a good time.
Hey, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Real quick, Tint, going back to you, because you mentioned somewhere about, you know, the snubs definitely being a lot better in, you know, the atmospheric flights. Are we going to see those changes when it comes to racing things like Miner's Lament or Stanton Pyro Jump Point? Are we going to see changes of, you know, that one, you know, the P-72 maybe not standing out as much in these space maps?
I think absolutely we will, and I think there's a couple of pilots who are particularly well positioned to take advantage of that. Splin is absolutely one of them.
Yep.
Where, I mean, having spent so much time in the earlier days of Star Citizen, where you know the Arena Commander tracks didn't even have atmosphere, we were flying as though we were in space, even though it looked like there was air there. Um, that you know the M50 is both the better choice for those tracks, and he's absolutely going to be able to show his skills off as a pilot there. Where I think some of these other racers have spent most of their time on atmospheric tracks and are going to struggle a little bit more in that environment.
Yep. Yep. Well said there. I'm looking forward to it because we do have some of these tracks coming up in the near future as well. But jumping over to Icebreaker here for group number 3. Let me get some of our statistics here. But I mean, we got Henchman 0 and Slum, unfortunately, had that DNF there. But we saw Jelly had made best lap of 54 seconds. Splen's at 102. Splen was just, you know, using the boost to control himself. But Tint, what are your thoughts on Icebreaker here? Seeing Jellyhead meet and Splen go at it.
I think you know, and it's easy to look at the outcome of the race and go, oh well, the P-72 walked away with it. But Splin is, I think, in all 3 of these races, our fastest lap time that isn't from a P-72 today. So he's definitely pushing the absolute limits of the ship. And I mean, as he said in the Twitch chat, this is him showing off. Icebreaker was just, let's make this lap as insane as we can make it. Let's red out on every corner. Let's black out going into the back straight every lap just because we can. So, you know, just having fun with it. I think maybe he knew going into this one that he was going to struggle to come out in absolute first place, where, you know, it wasn't really worth optimizing the time trial sort of line for the M50 on it, and it was better to just send it and have fun. The Razors on this one, I think, kind of showed their current weakness, where they're drifty, they have a tendency to grab at awkward moments. And so as those racers were sending it around these really tight corners, if the Razor grabs when you're not expecting it, you're trying to hold a drift, it just slams you straight into a wall. And so I think we saw Henchman and Slum both, as they're trying to navigate Matterhorn and some of these other tight sections, just sliding a little bit far or catching and coming in a little bit tight and grazing a wall. And, you know, it's unfortunate. I love the Razor, but it's unfortunate that it's just a little bit twitchy in that regard right now. And our more experienced racers are, I think, used to it, but some of our newer racers are definitely struggling to cope.
One thing I'm going to mention too, really quickly, Tint, is that, and this is somewhat relevant to Icebreaker, but not relevant to the race. I'm sorry to say this, but like in Icebreaker, when I was at an event and Star Citizen was actually there with like Intel or something, and they were doing the races, one of them was Icebreaker, and people were having so much fun just trying out the race itself. And I feel like the reason, like people, I think were like, oh, I want to get better at racing in this game. And you know, like I feel like when people are actually not forced somewhat to like learn to race or something, I feel like they enjoy it more. So, you know, like it's like, but seeing like people like Splen, who's just taken a completely different line that I haven't seen from all the races earlier today, just honestly brings such a fun level of excitement, because it's not your normal, kind of like what Cyberfox said earlier. It's, you know, he loves making his own lines, but I feel like do you think that he makes it difficult for himself, or is just again like you said, it's for show? But I think that I don't know. I feel like Splend can do, has that gap to do so much better and come out on top. But I don't know. Maybe he just wants to do it his own way, which I also respect.
I think you see him really come into his own in a lot of these live racing environments where the fact that he is so accustomed to playing with the lines lets
Yeah.
him improvise on the day where he needs to. Um, and so, where we see a lot of the other competitors are really just running their time trial lines. And it's played out well for them today, but it doesn't necessarily always work out that way. And especially when you get into racing environments with denser fields, it can be really tough. Um, So yeah, the other thing I did want to shout out on Icebreaker specifically was that Jelly did not have our fastest lap for the day on Icebreaker, but he did have our fastest overall race by 2 seconds.
Oh
So
wow.
where he did lose a little bit of time on his fastest lap, he was overall so much more consistent than even Ordito that he was actually, like I say, overall in the total race time 2 seconds faster. So one to watch.
Yeah. One quick question to you, CyberFox, and this is just about the overall race. Is that like I know at Enter Atmosphere we actually had respawns, and every time somebody crashed, of course, they like the teams would get them minus points after the overall. But how do you feel now seeing all the racers kind of go through everything? How do you feel that that rule is kind of keeping up? Where hey, after that one, you're done.
I think
I
it's
love the
great for
smile.
these short races. Yeah, I mean, I've just been enjoying it. That was such a show. Like, I'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, I think it works for the short races. I think the longer races, if you had like 10 or 15 or 20 laps, if you're going for a marathon, if you're doing like an hour long race, then you definitely don't want that. So I think it works for the short races, and it keeps the drama, and it keeps the race clean as well, because you got these knockouts, and then you got the head to heads. So there's a little bit of a narrative to the race because of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that the longer the race, the less that you want to punish crashes. But you do want to punish any sort of either exploits or people trying to refill their meters or trying to knock other people off the track. So it's finding that balance. And I think we've got that balance here today.
Well said. Well, moving on to our the last race, which was the snake pit here for group number 4, where we saw a quick henchman zero and slum. Unfortunately, and by the way, henchman and slum, I much props for you guys for joining us today. Like just because you're DNFing, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You guys are. I always say this, especially during two things, right? Fight or flight, we get a lot of people that go in chat, oh, these guys are doing this stuff wrong. But hey, man, you're not competing. They are. So the same thing I'll say here is that other people that are in chat are not racing. You guys are, and you guys are here participating. So much props to you guys. But yeah, I mean, they went out of the other track pretty quickly. And then you saw, I believe, Splend clip one of the top of the cranes during that track, which made, the only finisher was Jellyhead. But yeah, any thoughts on this last snake pit run from group number 4?
I think you've absolutely hit the nail on the head in terms of especially those race day nerves really can get the better of people. I mean, my favorite story for this one is when I was very first starting out racing. I did the first round of XGR Stanton Cup, and I was wearing a smartwatch. And during the first heat, it asked me if I was okay, like if it needed to call me help, because my
Wow.
my heart rate had spiked so high from the adrenaline of my very first ever ship race that it was just like, hey man, this is not cool. So like yeah, we see that in new racers all the time, that like that adrenaline spike of the real competition of being on the starting line is so much to take in. And it's where a lot of these older pros are going to show through in the later stages of this competition, that it doesn't affect them as much just because they've built up some resistance to it over the years, but it never 100% goes away. Um, Otherwise, I think, Splin was absolutely ready to demolish the snake pit for us. The thinner Atmo, I think, really kind of let the M50 come into its own. And he's, even without having gotten to get a complete set of laps in, his best lap time is pushing up on the P72 times for the day. is the fastest in anything that wasn't a P72. So where we saw, Jelly again, kind of racing consistent time trial style lines, things he's done dozens, if not hundreds, if not maybe even thousands in his case, of times before in Arena Commander live racing. Splin absolutely just embracing the full send, and I love to see it.
Yeah, no, yeah, I would say so. All I'm gonna say, if he didn't clip that, that would have been some. If he didn't clip the top of that checkpoint, I think we would have seen a very crazy closer race, in my opinion. But he still landed some points there. We should be good. Cyber Fox, any last thoughts here on our Group 4 Snake Pit race?
Yeah, I mean, I know that Jellyhead has got that consistency, and when you're competing in a race like this, keeping on the line means that whoever's out in front kind of wins by default, because passing opportunities are difficult to find when someone's taking that optimal line and that optimal space.
Yep.
But we're looking at snubs versus razors versus M50s, and Splen, he's showing off. He's having a fun time in Atmo, but he's playing the long game, right? He's redding out while he can. He's having a blast. But yeah, you spoke about Miner's Lament coming up later. I think
Yep.
that's when the ship is really going to come into its own. And I think when these snubs are going to maybe struggle a little bit because of the different flight style in 0G. I don't know about you, but I still can't make my way around Miner's Lament at all, surviving. So it's going to be very interesting to see the long-term game that these racers are playing.
Well, coming up, well, before we jump into the rest of the rounds here, let's take a look at our last group, number 4 statistics here for the first day of Gravity Rush. And here we go. We got Lord Vlau score Jellyhead made at a 103 with the fastest lap for Group 4. And then Icebreaker, we got that 54-second fastest lap. And then Snake Pit, 34 seconds. And then standings, we have, okay, I guess that is Jellyhead Mead with 12 points, Spline with 9. Slum landing 2 and Henchman 0 landing 1. So, I mean, like I said, there's still a few more round 2s and 3s to come. So, just because you're a little bit behind in day, in group, round number 1, that doesn't mean that, that you're behind. There's still 2 other groups that you can kind of catch up on. And now I'm going to talk about it here. Round 2, which is coming up on July 12th, we're going to have the Aurora. Any variant, and the tracks are going to be Snake Pit, the Skyscraper, and Yardar Valley. So, I mean, how will this dynamic with Auroras only going to change? Is are the same people like Ordito, Neojet are going to stay on top, or is it going to be a more of a challenging competition now that everybody's going to be on the somewhat of a same playing field? I'm going to start it off with you first, CyberFox.
Yeah, I think Yadar Valley is going to be the probably easiest race to race in an Aurora, just because of the amount of open space. You are, of course, over ground, so it's one of the I think the canyons at the start is going to be one of the biggest challenges, but it's not like the Skyscraper where you've got to go through these mailboxes. It's not like Miner's Lament where you've got to go through these keyholes. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the Aurora fares in these different styles of tracks and how much space that they have, especially when they're squeezed together to get through those checkpoints.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And then, like you also mentioned earlier too, a lot of the drifting that the Auroras are going to have to do through some of these, especially the first track being Snake Pit. So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Tint, same question to you. Is it going to be the same results coming up with the Auroras, or you think it's definitely going to be a more of a fair game for the other races as well?
I think it's going to flatten out a little bit, and I think we may see more of our newbie racers surviving through more of their races, just because the speeds being kept down is going to give them a little bit more time to process what's going on. I mean, I'm going to disagree with Fox here. I think Snake Pit may actually be the most approachable of these in the Aurora, with the only caveat to that being that some of these racers are going to struggle with the idea of taking drifters side by side with other racers, 10 meters away, because the Auroras are so close in speed. Whereas on tracks like Yadar, there's enough room to get yourself in trouble. The Aurora is still a nav-capable ship. It can still get up to top speeds that it cannot stop itself from in any reasonable amount of time. And it's really easy when you got that adrenaline going, you got the heart pounding, to slam on that throttle And especially I think we'll see a lot of people coming into their second lap on Yadar. They're going to be shoving that throttle all the way forward. They're going to get to make the hairpin at the first corner, and they're going to slam into the back wall because they don't have the thrust to counteract the speed they've built up for themselves. But I think we'll still probably see most of the same racers coming out on top, but I think the margins they do come out on top by will be a lot thinner.
A lot thinner. Okay, that makes little sense. Well, that's going to be quite it for round number 1 here for Gravity Rush. I want to say a big thanks to everybody, staff, production, the volunteers, the camera crew, the laser crew. Appreciate everybody. Tint, CyberFox, you guys were absolutely amazing today. We'll have a bigger talent crew coming up on race number 2. We'll have Jacqueline joining us, and then we'll have Croncy taking the mic here with CyberFox. So CyberFox, we won't have to talk as much next time. So that's gonna be a lot nicer. But anyways, I'm gonna kick it off to you first, Tint. Anything you want to say to the community out there about racing, about the day? Any favorite point of racing that you thought was stood out to you? Any of that? Please feel free. Go ahead.
I mean, I think if anybody out there has watched today's race and they're like, that looks like fun, get in the Discords. Don't waffle. Don't think about it. Just get in the Discords. Ask people, hey, who wants to teach me? Heck, DM me. I'm happy to tell you. I'll send you the links. We'll get you set up. But this is the best community in gaming as far as I'm concerned. People here are so willing to share. They're so willing to bring people in. And so we get to see that. I mean, even today with lots of racers, this being their first real event, they've learned from the stuff the community's put out, and it's absolutely beautiful to see. So yeah, if it looks like fun, get in the van. Let's go.
Awesome. Love to hear it, man. Same question to you, CyberFox. Any last words? Anything that stood out to you today? Anything you want to say at all to the community out there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a PvPer, just come and join us and show us what you got, because we need more races, right? Yeah, and I think just the excitement of seeing all the different styles is what stood out to me the most. Seeing the time trial flight race style, seeing Splen's showcase of redding out and blacking out and dolphin diving all over the place, and seeing the drifting of the razors. Yeah, I think it was a really all round just exciting event, to be honest.
Awesome. Well, I know everybody's had a busy day. I just want to say one more time to you, Tint, CyberFox, thank you guys so much for joining us. Everybody that's watching from home, thank you so much for joining us for round 1 here of Gravity Rush. We'll see you on July 12th for round 2, which we got some interesting Aurora racing in these next 4 groups. And, we're going to see at the end of all this, right, who is going to be invited to the next LAN and who's going to be hopefully competing in person, gaining that experience. So thank you all one more time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a good night and peace out, guys. Thank you so much.